ọ̀nà ṣé wọ́n rán kan rè fẹ́ mo ṣe bá ọ̀nà tí mo tọ́ délé yẹ jẹ́ oyè ni ògbílẹ̀ mi jẹ́ mo ṣe bọ́ ọlọ́run ọba mo ṣe ìbà ènìyàn ìbà ọlọ́run ọba mo ṣe ìbà ènìyàn ìbà abẹ́rẹ́ tó dorí kodò tí ó ro ìbà yàmọ́ kó tó dorí kodò tí ó ṣẹ̀jẹ̀ ìbà tiwa ọjọ́ mo rí bá tiwọ oòrùn mo ṣe bá tẹ́lẹ̀sẹ̀ tí òun run tẹ dojúgun ara wájú mo túbá mo ṣe bá ẹni tí ń bẹ níwájú mo ṣe bá èrò ẹ̀yìn mo ṣe bá èrò ẹ̀yìn àjíṣọ pé bí mo ti rí bá ní tèmi ẹ̀jẹ̀ ń rí ọ̀gbí mo dé o ọlọ́gbọ́dọ̀ tí mo dé lónìí nítorí ìdí Tóyìn Fálọlá interviews àwọn ọlọ́pẹ́ mi tí mo dé wọ́n ní bá Débọ̀ relé wọ́n ní bá Mr. Macaroni relé wọ́n ní bá fíríkì délé bàbá tó bí lọ́mọ ilé ọmọ Adébáyọ̀ ọmọ gbóhùn ẹnu ẹ̀gbá nílé o alákéjọ bí ọmọ orò lọ́tà èyí lọmọ orò pagi orò pọpẹ ọmọ orò tí ń pa gbàgùdá ni wọ́n ń porí kí ìbá bẹ́ẹ̀ èyí lọmọ orò tí ké wómúwómú tí ké wómúwómú lòrò òun ké nílé àwọn bàbá tó bí ọlọ́mọ gangan àṣẹ iyán tóbú ọkà tóbú àsáró tóbú lòrò ó mọ ìjẹlẹ bàbá ẹ̀yìn ẹ̀gbá níyìn ọmọ eríndógún ọlá ọmọ òṣìlẹ̀kùn palẹ̀kùndé ọmọ àrídìí ògo lọ́jọ́ ogun ẹ̀gbá ọmọ àròyìn ogun bàràfàgbẹ̀ ilé ọmọ ẹ̀gbá mọ́lísà bí ọmọ agbóhùngbò àkàlà dákun mọ́ gbóhùn ẹnu àní ó tẹ́tí bẹ̀lẹ̀ já ọmọ fìwé lọ orin mi bí mo ti rìn ilé bàbá tó bí ọlọ́mọ gan ilé Aláké Ẹ̀gbá nìyí ìlọmọ màjọ méjì ìwọ́jọ́ lọ́fà tó gbòdìdí ẹni ọmọ àjọ gbẹ̀rú nìyí mọ́jọ́ ògbẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́ mẹ́rú nísìnyẹn ẹ̀kọ́ nísìnyẹn láíláí ọba márùn-ún níjẹ́ lóde Ẹ̀gbá Aláké àjíṣọ pé ògbésẹ̀ mọ́ ní ìṣọ́lọ́nà bẹ̀rù Aláké ọba ni ọ̀sìnlẹ̀ ọba ni àgùrá ọba ni bí n bá ń lọ lọ́nà bẹ̀rù ilẹ̀ aṣọ ilẹ̀ ramọ́ àní Aláké Ẹ̀gbá kó mọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ láàlà àlàáfíà ara olówó òdúró kọ́kọ́ mọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ láàlà àlàáfíà ara àní kọ́ mọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ láàlà àlàáfíà ara àjíṣọ pé ọgbìn wọn máa wí lónìí ọba kò ní mo hùn akọrin sọjẹmọbọ jẹlé mi jẹ ọkọ ìyá ewu ìlẹdẹbọ mo ní àjẹpẹ ayé àlògbọ ayé ọmọ ọbẹ níbẹ̀ sọ àtẹ́lẹsẹ̀ wọn abẹ ìnáwó èèyàn tó bá ní ọmọ bọọlù onídé bá ń lé ọmọ lọrẹ ó sì mọ bọ ọrẹ ikọ òní kọ bọlá ikọ òní kọ mọ ìdò lẹ́sẹ̀ àyúnbọ lọ́wọ́ yẹn náà afẹkálà ayé fẹnu ìràwọ̀ rẹ ti ń tàn ògbó ayé rẹ ti ń tàn lónìí mo lòdò òru àlóòdò ṣùpá àtẹwọ́ fáráyé lágbára lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run ọba ọmọ ọbẹ ní ibẹ̀ sọ àtẹ́lẹsẹ̀ wọn abẹ ìlú àfẹkáláyé fẹná àtẹpẹlẹsẹ ẹtẹẹna wà lólẹ yípẹ wà tẹlẹ yípẹ àjẹpẹ ayé àlògbà ayé àtẹpẹlẹ lágbára lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run ọba mi tó dá ọ sí ilé ayé àní mọ dágọjọgọjọ mo ní ọmọ dágọjọgọjọ àbùkù oníkan wọn ikú òní lè gbà ọ lọ́wọ́ àwa àrùn kan onílé kan lágbára lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run ọba mo lóní tẹ òní tí òní rí ń gẹ̀sọ́nù bí o ṣe bí ọmọ Ẹ̀gbá ọmọ eríndógún alámọ̀wé o ọmọ eríndógún ọlá ọmọ òṣìlẹ̀kùn palẹ̀kùn dé nìyí èyí lọmọ orò pàdé orò pọpẹ ọmọ orò tí ń pa gbàgùdá ni wọ́n ń porí kí ìbá dẹ́yìn ilé ọmọ báyìí mo ní ọmọ dágọjọgọjọ àbùkù oníkan ọmọ ní Ọlọ́run ọba òní jẹ́ òrámáyé.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alimat. We are very grateful. We wanted to actually surprise Mr. Macaroni, but time does not permit us. Some LASU students put up a skit of their own with their own stories to imitate him. Some other time we'll do that. Thank you, LASU students. Well, it's my pleasure to start this interview. And I want to, first of all, thank those who are streaming this conversation, the Macaroni Alaroye Television, TK, 2 private universities ask all their entire students to watch this program, and they are streaming them. What we do is to use Zoom to do streaming so that we are able to get an audience that run into millions. We are very, very grateful. I don't join in the interview, I just initiate it and moderate it. And it's my pleasure to call on my very good friend, a very notable figure, Ahmed Yerima. Ahmed Yerima was his teacher in school. And if you are Yoruba, this is our ultimate prayer, that may our children, our sons, our students be greater than us. I mean, he's a playwright, play director, actor, cultural administrator, and professor. It's been a privilege of mine to see many of his plays. When I received an honorary doctorate at Redeemer, he did a play as part of the program. He went to Cardiff, University of London for his honorary doctorate, and he teaches theater and cultural studies at Redeemer's University. At one time, he was the Director General of the National Theater and the National Troupe of Nigeria. He's an award-winning playwright, and most notable about him is his great humility, his commitment to the theater industry, and his interest in a new generation of Nigerian artists. Please welcome Professor Yerima to start this interview.
It's an honor to be in this program and to be in the program by the great man himself, Professor Toyin Falola. Not many are called, so the few that are called should be very grateful. So I'll go straight to the questions. Hello, Debo.
Hi, Prof.
How are you? Why are you looking so serious? Relax. You know how to torment people on screen. So today is our time to torment you. Debo, what I did was I asked, I want to tell you that you are an inspiration to the school, Redeemer's University. And what I did was also to ask some of the students to ask questions. So some of the questions you will hear are some of the students, from the students who look up to you as their role model. And they want to, in fact, I have about 2-3 students writing on you right now. So whatever you say will be used against or for you. Well done.
Thank you.
Good. The first question is, people want to know how you came about the name Macaroni. Why do you call yourself Mr. Macaroni? You know.
Okay, hi, Prof, and hello to everyone who has joined in this conversation. I must appreciate Professor Toyin Falola especially for considering me worthy, to join the Toyin Falola interviews. It's a great honor. I know of many names, many legends that have been on this fantabulous platform. And, I also know of the great people that come on board to talk to us and ask us questions. And particularly it's my own honor that my teacher, Professor Ahmed Yerima, is one of those that is going to be speaking to me today. Prof is a great part of my life. I mean, this is my shelf, and you'll see his picture just right behind because he inspires me every blessed day. So you can understand why this is so emotional for me and why I'm indeed grateful to be here. So to your first question, Prof, Macaroni, Mr. Macaroni, people always think there's a big story to how I came about the name. There's really not. Well, it could be a big story, but I'll share it. So, when I started acting, I've been acting for a while, I'm not talking about my video contents now. I'm talking about just movies, soap operas. I go for auditions. I used to, well, now they just call, oh, we have work for you, and they send you the script. But then a lot of auditions, a lot of casting calls. So one of the jobs that I had then, face to face, is a popular sitcom, So I was, at the time, I was playing the role of an extra, nothing serious. Most of those roles are maybe you are the one opening the gates, you're not required to say anything, or you're the one the star actor is going to buy something from, or you're in a restaurant and you're one of the extras eating while the star actors are talking. So I got one of those roles on Face to Face, and the director at the time liked the way I was interpreting my role. So, and that was the very first time I understood what our teachers used to teach us then in school. They would say, no role is small. So if they tell you, oh, you're the one that will just leave this thing, or you have just a scene in an entire production, it's not a small role. Just do it as an artist should do it. An artist should be responsible and do it well. So I think I was just having fun and doing it. And he said, I like the way you're doing. Give yourself a name. Let us develop this character. Let's give you more screen time. So give yourself a name. So I was shocked. Why? How? So I thought about it. I had just a few seconds to think about it. And I said, oh, okay, Mr. Macaroni riding on a bicycle. that song. And I said, okay, sir, Mr. Macaroni. And everyone looked at me like, Mr. Macaroni. Okay, well, fine, suit yourself. So since then till now, I just decided to keep it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. If I don't clear this up, half of the people who knew about your little fracas in school with us, what started it all was that you said that you were influenced. I have spent 2 hours with a professor who was incidentally my vice chancellor, Professor Wande Abimbola at Ife. Yes, and you said I have spent 2 hours with him, and I have learned so much, more than I have learned in my university, and that got us professors mad. I spent a lot of years with Professor Wande Abimbola, and and I think what we also thought was, how can this man be attending a private faith-based university and be saying he's learned so much than he has learned from us from a Babalawo professor. Tell us why you said that, and we would like to know what you really learned, although that matter is behind us now. But we want to know what you learned that day that was more than what me, taught you for 4 years. Eh?
Well, wow, Prof, really? Okay, no, well, at the time, I did not mean it that way. The truth, the absolute truth is I was angry. I was really upset about how I was treated. As the president of the entire Students Association, of course, I had a lot of fracas here and there with management. Oh, we will not take this, we will not take that, which I want to believe was my responsibility. I had first the responsibility to look after my students. I was the #1 student in the university at the time. So every other student I saw as my responsibility. So of course, that type of attitude would generate clashes here and there. So when the entire thing started, the president versus the school management and all of that, how some people in management at the time handled it, I wasn't really so happy with it. So it didn't make me feel good. I mean, the university, like Prof rightly said, we are behind that. Redeemers University, if you look here, you see a lot of accolades from Redeemers University. It's my school and I'm proud of Redeemers University. But at that time, I just looked at, this is a school I had devoted my life, a lot of my works, my time. I would go out of the school, publicize the school, tell people come to school, encourage the students to love the school, you know. So I just felt there were some things that I did not deserve. So I went with a group of pressmen to see Professor Wande Abimbola. At the time, you know, I was out of school then, and there was nothing I was doing. So we went and he spoke to us. And in all honesty, yeah, well, it was too much to say that I learned in 2 hours. You know, of course, I had to write that. You know, so most of the time, your pen is your power. You know, so and I knew that was going to rile everyone up. Oh, what's that? What, you know? So I did that. You know, but of course, it was a very insightful moment with him. You know, he taught me more about leadership. You know, about how perhaps to go about certain things, and how, if, because I shared some of my experience with him, and he said, oh no, I would have done it this way, I would have done it that way, you know. So, and that was what led to the write-up. So when I put that out, of course, it generated more wahala.
Well, I think that will take me to my next question, because the social media became your strength, your best friend, and now you have over-embraced it. Both of you are one, because I thought you were going to, after Iyase, playing Iyase himself in the play, I thought you were going to go into full serious drama. And then when you now went into skits, it was nice. You fought your battle through the social media. But tell us, why did you embrace social media? Especially me, who was looking for them to say, this is a showing cast play, starring. I was waiting for you to be starring, until I now saw that you were cocooned with Mr. Macaroni. Why social media? Tell me.
Yes, so actually, I said to myself now that I started late, very late. And why? It's because of you, Prof. I started that late because of you. Because I always remember all of your teachings and all of the stage strength, the theater spirit that I had accumulated under your tutelage in school. And I would see at the time what they were doing on social media, and I would say, oh no, come on, I can't do this. If Professor Yerima should see me doing this, he will be asking, Debo, what are you doing? You know, so at the time, I as a thespian, and I'm going to expand a bit on that for sake of those, especially thespians that are watching me now. As a thespian at that time, I felt content creation for online media was beneath me. That's what I thought. I looked, I said, no, I want to be doing stage. Like what Professor Yerima has taught me, how we perform in school, that is what I want to be doing. So I have the business online. So, but what led to me starting that, as you asked, is I spent a lot of time going for auditions, for TV, film, you know, soap operas, what have you. I was getting those tiny roles, you know, like I said, you know, the extra roles. And even though I've said that no role is small, but it wasn't really what I wanted. And you know, Prof, in school, I would always play the lead role. Most of the productions I was in, I was always starring in it. And I started to question myself, and I said, is it that you are not really a good actor, and maybe they were just deceiving you in school? Or what's going on? How come you are going for auditions, nobody is giving you this role? So I was tired. I was frustrated. I was depressed, you know. So I think one thing I did not explore was saying, okay, look, I want to go stage. Let me go back to stage and be doing that. But for the film industry, it wasn't coming, and I was just tired. So I sat down one day and I looked and said, okay, look, these people, I saw the likes of Twice, Maraji, Brother Shaggy, who were already online sensations at the time, superstars. And I looked, I said, this thing to me doesn't make sense, but it's not as if I cannot do it. I can't do it. I have been trained to do things like this, but to me, I just feel, why not stage? Why not proper movies, big movies? So I said, okay, look, remember, you are only remembering the stage Professor Yerima taught you. Remember when Professor Yerima will also tell you in his office, you know, so is what I'm telling everyone listening to me now, especially thespians. Do not be embarrassed to roll, to spin along with the world, you know, as it spins. It's just that you must be conscious of what you're doing. You must still remember your roots. And I think that's why I embraced it. When I started out of desperation. That's when I started creating content for social media. I started out of desperation. And if you look at the trajectory, at first, I was just doing anything that comes to my head, I just do it because I was desperate. But when I saw that I now have it, you know, like people were actually watching. I was seeing hundreds of thousands of views, and I'm like, people are watching what I'm doing. No. I then had to go back to my roots, to theater, to say, look, you have been taught in school that theater must be used to educate society. So in as much as you want to be popular, you want people to know you, you want people to appreciate that you're a great actor, you must also not forget what theater has taught us. So that's
let me come in very quickly. Professor Femi Oshofisen is here. So listening to this now, what will you ask him to advise the students that come to him?
Thank you so much, Prof. It's a great honor that Professor Femi Oshofisen is listening to me, Small Macaroni, speaking. I have a lot of his books here. It's a great honor. And Professor Yerima will always speak so highly of Professor Femi Oshofisen. He was in our school once when I was a student. I was, you know, when I saw him, I was like, yay, see Baba. So I'm happy that he's here. What I will say is the students have to explore, even right from school. Yes, theater is the mantra. It will always be. But I want to strongly believe that what the likes of Professor Oshofisen, Professor Yerima, what they are teaching us in school, they can also be using as a tool. What we are simply doing is we are now making it digital media. While they are rehearsing or their performances, short clips, they are putting it online. That way, they have the theater background, the theater teachings, they will still be doing stage, but of course, they are also still present on digital media, because in all honesty, the world has moved and it is still moving. I don't miss stage performances. I was still in one, I think last week, I still go, but a lot of people are online now. So we need to also transform that energy. While they're doing their things on stage, in theater is very good, but we also need to start training them to perhaps divert some of that skills. The skills that thespians have, a lot of people out there don't have it. They don't. So they need to also start to divert these skills to create content for online media so that the world can appreciate the beauty of theater.
And sir, for me, I think Professor Oshofisen gave back to people like Mr. Macaroni. Because if I look at those typical characters, Etiro and all those that he used to give those characters, you know, as Amusa, he had a way of picking names that with them themselves could evoke humor, and then give them lines which were particular about characters, and I think maybe if he had television, which he used effectively, but I think if he wanted to go into social media, most of his characters will fit in perfectly now. So I think I want to see him as a forerunner of using a kind of typification of characters to create humor, because that's where most of his when I watched Shola Rimbo, I rolled on my bed. And even when Tunde Kelani tried to make it a serious film, it had so much effect on my students when we're watching it. And I said, go read the script and find that nothing too much was added to affect this humor, you know. So Prof, good evening, sir. You have always been my own mentor, so I'm happy my father is here. Well done, sir.
So the professors may not like this question. We have somebody at Ife who studied Yoruba who ran to become president. He didn't have a delegate because he didn't have a bag of money. And we have you. Could I be provocative by saying your model and that of ovation have actually elevated practice and discipline? You have more money than Professor Femi Oshofesan today.
Who's that?
You have more money than Yerima.
Yes, sir. He even gives me money. I will confess.
Where you live at Lekki, both of them cannot live there. So can we talk about how knowledge can be transformed? Which is not, I'm not advocating predatorship, but in which this transformation, a new generation will carry it forward. I mean, for somebody who did Yoruba to become a presidential candidate with ovation, that is remarkable. And what the path you are crossing, and I like the prayer that was made in that poem for you, is also transformational. So what I'm getting at is, how do we break out of the rigidity of some of these disciplines, history and geography, and how people begin to be more creative with them?
Thank you so much, Prof. I would say, in the defense of the professors, I would say that if at the time, yes, they are still writing, beautiful, but if at the time, at the time where their works were all over, where social media had not become a thing, their works are still there, some of we still read them, but at the time when social media has not become a thing, if they had social media then, I beg to say they will be greater. Because if you look at the words, when I go back to read some of these plays, just before I'm still reading No Pennies from Mama. This Professor Yerima I've not finished. I've read it before. I'm just reading again. So I sit down and I look at it. Because I don't know. There's no word for me to describe it. It's a lot of knowledge. A lot. I feel we are even lazier. That's the truth. I feel social media help. So what I'm saying is, yes, the discipline is very good. The discipline will remain. But because a lot of things have changed. A lot of things and we are in that digital age. It will just be for them, for professors, for our professors, our doctors, our teachers in school, to help their students embrace it. It's not to leave the doctrines of theater that we have been so imbibed to. It is only to see digital media as an addition to further propagate the gospel of theater. That's how I see it.
Thank you, Professor Yerima.
Yes, sir. I think the money emphasis in our politics, there is no way we can escape that. And Professor Oshofesan has written so much about it, has looked at the issue of leadership. Professor Shoyinka did the same thing. But I think what they did, and they taught me, which is really bad, is that a professor should stick to books and try and involve theories and ideas that would affect lives. And I think that's the problem most professors have. And that's why we cannot have we can't have professors who successfully without being in positions where they can acquire money. Unfortunately, I took over from Professor Jefferson at the National Theatre, and he was broke when he left. I was broker when I left, because we were committed to trying to get the National Theatre going rather than what can we make. And so when, again, there is also the psychological classification or categorization about the Nigerian people. Well, when you say he read Yoruba, and even though he was heavily successful with his ovation, and yet he cannot, he bought a ticket, he bought the form, and for that, but he does not have the money for what it takes. First, also, he also needs to know what he's getting himself into. I think Dele just went there to have fun, and it's good to be relevant and to be mentioned. But I think with time, society will begin to wipe out all those demarcations and hopefully allow young people. And I think that's why, although I was afraid for Macaroni, Mr. Macaroni, when he started taking part in the NSAS thing, I remember calling him at night and almost dobaling to beg him, don't go out. And he said, I won't go out. And I still saw him go out. And then he told me, and I said, so there's a major problem there. I think the problem is with the Nigerian society as at now. We have that problem of, but it's the people who have the money. So I won't mind voting for Macaroni in another 10, 20 years when he's very matured and has made a lot of millions, because Nigerian politics is money. And I think that's the problem. But when we come to Macaroni, I want to talk about your satire. Do you tailor them towards any specific direction? Because the one you did, which I tried to watch before, the one, it was so timely. The one where you were collecting your cars back from the delegates. Yeah. It was so timely. It was now you are using satire as a weapon. And I think that's one of the things I learned from Oshofison and from Shoinka and all those great writers before me. Are you doing that now? Are you going to be more vocal? But also note that you will get into trouble once in a while. And may you not get into trouble, because when you begin to confront, do not forget you can, iconoclasm. I taught you that in school. But you should also know that what you are doing now is very effective, but also it should have its limitations. So your use of satire, what do you think is going on?
Yeah.
Tell us.
Of course, because again, I go back to theater. The basic raw materials that dramatists use to create their art is society. The society cannot be burning, and your drama does not reflect that the society is burning. Because that is where you live. You are influenced by what you see, what you hear, what you can perceive. Apart from figments of your imaginations, which could be fictional, we are talking about the raw materials for artists now. So satire is what I have now learned and I must confess that the NSAS protest changed my perception about a lot of things. While I have always had the theater background and used it, it further strengthened me. The protest further strengthened me and said, look, we have gone out there, so till now we are still going out there, but when you are not out there, what are you doing? So by God's grace, I have a platform where millions of people come, they watch. So for me, it's no longer about what do they come to, they just come to my platform, they laugh and they go. What are you taking away when you come to Mr. Macaroni's platform? So it is very intentional, especially when, so that's why that one was recent, because the delegate thing also happened recently. So when things happen recently, I immediately think of, okay, how can we link this into our content and put it out there? So that people know what is going on. They want to laugh and relax. Okay, fine, you will do that. But while you're laughing and relaxing, you are still in the consciousness of society and you know what is going on. And somewhere around you, somewhere in your heart, you are purged and you say, okay, why you laugh? We are in serious wahala in the country. So that's it about the satire. Yeah.
And you see, do you think at any time while making this skit that you are touching young lives? Yes or no, sir?
Yes. Yes.
And how do you, because whether you like it or not, me talking to you is what has been framed by other greater minds and greater people. How much of your work do you think should influence the youths of Nigeria in future?
How much of my work? Well, I hope a lot. I hope a lot. Because drama is an imitation of life, an imitation of our day-to-day activities. There are some of my contents that will not even involve the advocacy part, so to say. There are some that are primarily to evoke humor, just laugh and go. But because, like I said, I have been greatly influenced by the happenings of society. The killings in 2020 really was the catalyst, in fact, that changed me, my content, and gave me another point of direction. So I'm hoping now, in fact, there was a time my mom called me, my dad, my dad was saying, whoa, it's very good what you're doing, but don't let it cover your other work and the other things that people know you for. Don't let it be too much. So now, to answer your question directly, in the nearest future, and when people come to my works, I think that is what I want them to remember me for. That my contents are there to purge their minds and to, in any way possible, rejuvenate and transform our society for good.
Thank you very much, Professor Yerima. I will come back to you later on. I have to move on. We are grateful to members of the audience. We have the former Vice Chancellor of Osun State University, Vice Chancellor Zakari, who is here with us. We have people from South Africa. I'm not including those on other platforms, and so many other people. Professor Da Silva, who also does drama. Thank you all. Please, I want to introduce Alaroye Television, one of our sponsors. Debo Adedayo is a major figure. I was told, I cannot confirm, that Debo Adedayo is his father. Is he your father?
He's my father.
Is your father. You do know the difference between faith and certainty?
I
so
do.
You don't. If a man says he has 3 children, that is faith. If a woman says she has 3 children, that is certainty.
Wow.
Are you certain?
I'm certain.
It's not faith.
You know why I'm certain?
Is because you have 32.
The lips.
The lips.
Yes.
Alaroye, can you ask him a question? Only one?
No, I don't have a question to ask.
Why?
I'm just listening. You said I should come here and I'm here. So I'm just listening.
So are you proud of him and why?
Well, that's because he resembles my father too much.
Your own father. So it belongs to your it belongs to your father, not you.
Yeah, resemble my father, because that is the way my father was a very good comedian, was a very good artist, even without he knowing him. He had taken so much from.
Oh, sorry about that. Well, you're having problem with your internet. That gives me the opportunity to abandon you and move on. It's my pleasure to go to Dr. Mrs. Adabada, a very prominent actor herself, very well known, also a professor and teacher at Adaptation University. She attended St. Paul Primary School in Shagamu. From there to Federal Government College Udugbolu, and she took her first degree at Ondo State University Ado-Ekiti, a doctorate from the University of Ibadan, and she specializes in film and gender studies. Welcome, Dr. Mrs. Adabada. Please.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you.
Yeah, Debo, it's a pleasure to be here. I will not want to repeat questions, but at least I understand why the name, and that it is not because somebody is Mr. Beans and you have chosen to be Mr. Macaroni. I can understand that it was incidental.
Yeah.
Now, the first question I want to ask, about 3 of my colleagues discussed with me when they realized that I was going to be on this panel, and that is from gender-based studies. The question is, looking at skits has come to stay because the social media permits it. And it is short and precise. And the theme comes out readily without the embellishments that will have to come in when compared with films. Now, the question is, it appears you have not given thought to female-centered national challenges. We have the mother-child mortality, death at birth too. We still have the case of the Chibok girls, cases of rape, underage marriages, and all the rest. Skits can handle all this, and they will remain in people's mind for a very, very long time because they will be precise. Women in Nigeria will want you to look into that area. And let me ask the second question straight. I noticed that in most of your skits and your roles, even in feature films, you are always dressed more often than not in red robes, red agbada, wine color, wine t-shirts, red shirts, red canvases, and all that. Is it a signal? What does it stand for? I know that recently the skits you have with Gargantua, that is Jumoke Odetola. Yeah, one of the few ones we have seen you putting on blue. In other ones, it's always this red agbada. In the skit concerning delegates returning money to their sponsors, you are in agbada. In so many other ones, you are in these red robes. Can you please talk about these 2 questions?
Okay. Thank you very much.
You know, I gave him my shirt and I'm wearing his agbada now.
Because you are in red robe. Maybe you and Debo are saying something that we are yet to.
That we don't know. Okay, thank you very much, Doc. Thank you so much. It's my honor to be here and to be able to discuss with you. So let me first quickly address female inclusion is a very valid point. In fact, while you raised it, my mind raced down to these issues that you have mentioned and how we have overlooked a number of them. But I track in when it comes to, let me talk about rape. about domestic violence. I think that's my major area. That's when we talk about female inclusion, that's one area I usually delve in, domestic violence. There was a particular content I made called Boxing Day. It's on YouTube. That content, we lost count on how many mails, messages that we received from women that actually left their relationships because of that content. So it was a content to speak. I was very harsh and brutal with that content. So because it was to speak to them directly that if you stay in an abusive marriage or relationship, you might just lose your life. But for these other points that you have mentioned, I think it's time that we started looking at them, and it's something that I hope by God's grace, I'll commit myself to. About the costume.
Yes,
the red robes. Let me talk about the agbada first.
Okay.
I will be very honest. I'm going to confess. The wine agbada red, I used that agbada for my birthday shoot in May 2018, I think. I started creating content, online content, 2019, late 2019. That was when I started all this. So that's it. When I started and I wanted to appear like a rich man, I said, oh, look, okay, let me look for, I saw that, but I said, okay, let me use this one. I wore it. So at the time, it was just about the only agbada I had. Maybe one or two. Maybe one or two more. Then that cap I wear is my father's cap. Okay. I went upstairs. I went to his room. I looked. I say, what's your match? What John I want now? Very good. No pay war. So that was how it started. So I was repeating it at the time for two reasons. Number one, the first reason being that at that time, nobody knew me, you are my brand. So I was doing it for consistency's sake that, if once people that are watching the video, once they see someone in red agbada, is this man again? Is this man? They want to watch, And the second reason being that if I say I want to be changing agbada, how many will I buy? I thought about it. A lot of
you are making money.
Well, now I can afford to buy as many. But I think that color has now become a part of the brand. Right. Around my office, it has become a part of the brand. Once people see that color, even when they want to do billboards for us, do different things, once people see that color, they say, Mr. Macaroni. So for consistency's sake, I just have to retain it. But for films, I doubt. In fact, most of the time, I always make sure they don't give me the same color, so that sometimes we can, most of the time, we can always differentiate the online personnel from Mr. Macaroni when he's in feature films or stage performances.
Okay. But recently, you were in a feature film recently that I watched on DSTV concerning one Omolowo girl like that who was desperate to send her boyfriend abroad, and they had no wherewithal to do that. So with yourself and your gang, she said, you people should just kidnap her and ask her father to pay a ransom of 20 million. You were in red t-shirt. I think you are just attracted to red.
Actually, no. That's the truth. Actually, no. My best color is white. And my dad had that influence on me because my father's best color is white. So growing up, I just loved white. But for sake of, now that particular movie you're talking about, I was in that attire, that color, because it was continuity. If you notice, it was like the same day we were trapped. So that's why I had to retain that color. But there are a list of other movies I can recommend you. You see that I was not wearing red.
but Dr. Adabada, why are you interested in this? This color issue, why are you interested in it?
Yes, because I try to read people's aura by the clothes they wear. Yeah. I've been trying to do certain things. When you see people in particular colors, you know, because red stands for energy. And Debo is active, but let's leave that for now. So Debo, we want to see more skits concerning women. We want you to join us to bring back our girls. And Debo, if you are not acting film, if you are not giving us skits, what else will you have given us?
I'll be a lawyer. I'll be a lawyer. As a matter of fact, that was because I started to study. My first university was Leeds City University, and I was doing law. I wouldn't do any other thing than law, and I would be actively involved in speaking up and defending people that cannot defend themselves.
Now, because that's when you link the two together, you are still playing the same role. Because with your skits, you are speaking the mind of the people.
Yes.
And you are calling people's attention to certain things, like we are fighting a cause for your people. And we do that for your clients too. So I think it's still the same thing.
I'm on course.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice talking with you.
Thank you so much, man.
Look forward to many of your skits because
thank you, man.
It is the in thing. You know,
in
theater, in film productions, you have themes and you have sub-themes and you have other embellishments that may become too lengthy for busy people.
Yes.
But with skits, you drive home the point straight. Like in the case of yourself and your wife having issues in bedroom, your first statement, with your first statement in that skit, I know what you were talking about. And I know where the thing was going to end, especially when your daughter came and gave you those 2 parts.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Over to you, Prof. Sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me also thank so many people who have joined from various countries and from various professions, professors, practitioners. Thank you very much. Next Sunday, same time, we'll be interviewing President Thabo Mbeki. We want to use the opportunity to talk about, he'll be 80 years this week. We'll talk about his experience. We want to talk about state capture, corruption, democracy. Why is it that some people are saying Africa is not doing well? Do please join us to welcome Professor Mbeki, same time on Sunday next week. Audience, exercise patience will soon come to you, and we'll come to you with all the questions you have. I recognize Professor Shetima of MacArthur Foundation. Thank you for joining us. We're very grateful. And to many of you, Professor Tunde Babawale from Anti-Corruption Center, Abuja. Thank you very much. Professor Osha from the University of Cape Town. We're very grateful. Professor Bugamba, Rice University. We are all honored that you are the Dean of Social Sciences, Babcock. We thank you, and we also thank 2 private universities who ask their students to watch this on Restream. They will give more time to the next person who is extremely famous himself, an actor, radio show, commentator, everything rolled into one, Yemi Shodimu. I don't have to introduce him. He's acknowledged internationally. He went to Dramatic Arts Ife, where he got his master's degree, and he went to the University of Lagos. He's been on so many platforms, on stage, television, radio. He has his own radio station, which is meeting at the time we are talking now. He's been cinema, home video. If you have seen The Village at Master, Tioluwanile, Koshegbe, Shaworoide, White Handkerchief, Isale Ko, Oshodi Takpa, Oba Eshuba Yi, so many. He's acted in all of them, and he's played the character of Aremu. Please welcome the distinguished thespian, Yemi Shodimu.
Hello, sir, and it's nice to be with you here. Thank you, Prof, for this platform. I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I can hear Debo that much. Hello, Debo.
He heard you.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, great.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, I want to say also thank you to the two academicians that started this. My respect. Debo.
Yes, sir.
For the very first time, I want to say that looking at you right now, as a director, I will not hesitate to cast you as TB Joshua.
Wow.
For the very first time, if I have to do a movie on TB Joshua, all I probably need to do is starve you a little, just starve you a little, and you'll be a perfect character for it. I don't know if anybody has ever told you that, but I'm looking at that character for the very first time, and that is you. So I don't know whether I'll be interviewing a prophet or an actor.
Let's leave it as actor.
Okay, so let's settle down for the part of the actor. It's been a bit of a long journey for you, but I want to start with your student activism. If you are to look at student unionism now, generally across the land, across the nation, would you say you are happy? If not, what are the things you think are missing? What could be done better? I want to kick off with that.
Thank you so much, Ogami, sir. It's a great honor to have you doing this. You know, I mean, like I've been saying all day, you are one of those, Professor Irma, Dr. Dagba, yourself, that in the field, in the thespian field, you know, you inspire us. And again, for all that you have been doing till this very moment, Baba, you are doing well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So to go to your question, I think what is missing is that the people at the helms of affair, as unionists, student unionists, cannot relate to the pain that the students are going through. Why? Most of the people in student union government, I mean the general one now, if you look at them, they are finished BSc, BA, what have you. They are perhaps those that are doing masters or doctorates, and of course, because of the politics, they find their way to be the president or the vice president or what have you. They cannot relate to the pain of that student that has not even gotten 1 degree. So how the passion will not be there. It's painful. It's very painful that I am out of school and I still find myself having to do content, having to speak out via my social media platforms, Twitter and what have you, saying, oh, ASU strike has been pending for so long, that must end. I ask myself, where are the Nigerian students? What is going on? Are you not tired? Are you not? But I don't blame them, because I look at the entire scope and I say, look, the people that are in charge will not necessarily know, because they have turned it to politics. They will not understand the pain of the entire student body. So it's sad, it's painful, but it's not that the situation we find ourselves for the country. The right people to do the right things are usually never there.
Let me still take you back to your years as a student union leader. Are there things in retrospect now? Are there things you would have done differently?
Yes.
Taking you back in retrospect now, are there things you would have done differently? Are there decisions you wouldn't have taken? Or are there actions you would have reviewed?
Yes, a number of them. Do I regret any action that I took that led to the freedom or that led to problem solving or that led to putting my students in a better place? No, I don't. But to genuinely answer your question, there are some ways, there are some things I might have said or done at the time, not just the Redeemers University. I went to 4 different universities. In those universities that I would have done differently. Let me talk about Leeds City University first. When I was in Leeds City University, we were in school. Suddenly we heard that NUC, I was studying law, and suddenly the NUC secretary went on air, national television, and then said that the law course we were doing at the time was not accredited, and that any student that was doing that course at the time would have no certificate or no degree, was just wasting their time. So we said, and then we had a law student society, we had the president, but we were not seeing much action. So the students came around. Of course, I was there. I will always be there in issues like that, you know. And we started to speak up, like, what is going on? We demanded to see the chancellor, not just vice chancellor, the chancellor, what is going on? So as the tension started to build, I remember there was a day we went in the middle of the night to show our displeasure. We went in the middle of the night, and then we put holes in the tires of those buses, of the school buses. And then we did that. And then in the morning, of course, because what happened was they were always using the buses to bring policemen, bouncers to come and restrict us so we don't move and all of that. Things like that. I would go back and say, oh no. Or talk about when I was in the North American University in Cotonou, when I had a confrontation with a lecturer, and I was just studying law at the time. We were having this confrontation. He locked my shirt up, my shirt this way, he locked my shirt. And I said, sir, you are choking me. I can't even breathe. You are choking me. And I said, sir, if you don't leave my shirt, I will have no other option than to lock your own shirt as well. And he did not leave it. So I locked his shirt also. So now I look at those things and I say, Debo, you know. So now I think there are some things. Talk about Redeemers University, as Prof asked me also, that write-up that I made, perhaps there are some words. I might still have written that, but there are some words in that write-up that now, with the knowledge, with the small knowledge we got don't add to what I get, I would not have. So yes.
Okay. It takes a lot, I must say, to keep a newspaper like Alaroye on the newsstand. And now that it takes a lot of guts, let me use that word. And now that you have confirmed who your dad is, and we know who the spirit behind Alaroye is, are there things you took from him that has impacted on your life as an actor and as an activist? I never met your grandfather. He said you look like him. But are there things you took from your father or even the grandfather that impacted them?
For my father, yes. As far as activism is concerned, his writings, his stories, his personality. My father then, as young as we were then, we knew he had access to a lot of politicians, a lot of big people. sometimes among ourselves, we will need some certain amount of money. I'll be like, should be daddy more money here now. Should be daddy more governor here. Should be daddy is popular now. Why don't we have money? But then I realized that because of the work, the highly sacred profession, journalism, which includes you having to say it as it is, not writing something in the favor of another person. It is in your own best interest and in the interest of the profession that you are in, not to do mago. So why? So that umale moro. So it's one of the things I took from him. Believe me when I say that I have had ridiculous offers from the high and the mighty, from everywhere. But because, again, I learned contentment from my father. You will not see him doing go to that one's house, go to collect here, collect there. Oh, no. So when this started for me, of course, a lot of people feel, Macaroni here, he speaks up, this one, that one. Oh, yeah, call him, come. Because I will always remember my father, I would rather say, if it's more, tell me, Lauren. Actually, go, I'm fine. So, and I think is part of the reasons why till now I can continue to say it as it is. So that activism, well, I would not say acting because he was a broadcaster. He used to read the news on NTA, but that time my eye, I don't know what they do for TV that time. So I'm not sure, was I even born then, or I was very young, so I never saw him do that. So yeah.
Did he encourage or he tried to dissuade you from pursuing that legal battle with Redeemers University when you did?
Oh, in fact, it was him that made the call, I think, to Festus Keyamo, who was the one that handled the case at the time. You know, let me say that for all the troubles I had in all the different universities, in fact, from secondary school, because I was head boy in my secondary school, and there was a time I was debadged as the head boy because I had an issue with some of the staff. I said, oh, this is wrong, and that, and it led to another thing, and they said, oh, this boy. But well, I was later reinstated. That's as late as I can remember. Since that time, my parents, my father, my mother, they never for once discouraged me or slander me or say, no. As a matter of fact, what they would do, they will ask around, please, what happened? Because I will tell them, oh, this is what happened. They will ask. Well, so my mom would be,
Come on, you normal? Come on, you normal?
You know, so they're wondering that everybody is saying, oh, he was on his right. He was on his right. So if everybody is saying he was on his right, he was on his right, how come they are either expelling him or they are saying, oh, this is wrong or that, you know? So what I would say is they kept on, they just made sure that, look, do it with limitations. We know you're speaking up for what is true, for what is right, but but they never ever discouraged me. No.
I like this part of Debo Adedayo. It paints a picture of a son that is always getting into trouble with authorities.
Yes.
How would you handle it if your child should find him or herself in this situation? And what advice would you give to such parents?
I am working as hard as possible, and I am speaking up as hard as possible so that my child or my children will not have cause to be crying that, oh, this is wrong, this is bad. I am fighting and voicing out for a society, a sane society, a balanced society, such that my children will be born and they will see a society where things are done as they should be. But God forbid that when I give birth to children, the society is still as they are, I will be disappointed if my children are not speaking up. So my reaction would be,
I like that. Now,
Yeah.
Debo, tell me, what would you have been if you were not an actor? What would you have chosen as a profession?
He said he wants to be a lawyer.
An actor.
He said he would have loved to be a lawyer. He answered that before.
Oh, you answered that earlier. Okay,
So
great.
let me now, one follow-up. Why don't you go and complete your law degree?
Truthfully,
because you can put all the credit together.
Yeah.
They're not, and then say all your credits together that you've done.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then start it. I have a friend by the name of Professor Abia Sensor. 30 years ago, he left the law school, but he went back 3 years ago and he got his degree. I'm on the council of Lead City, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So if you want to go back to your law school, I think you can put all your previous credit together and ask them to evaluate what is left.
I hope one day I can. Actually, it's something I've been thinking about. But because of this work, the pressure from this work is, but hopefully, I hope I can.
Well, you just got a free advice there.
Yeah.
So think about it later.
I will.
Debo, you make us laugh via your humor. Do you take time off to laugh at yourself?
Like I was telling Prof now that there's the pressure. I'm confessing live on the Toyin Falala interviews. I go through a lot of pressure. There's pressure from my work. That was pressure already. But then when I started again, 2020, to the advocacy, that's always been there. But when it became a national thing, when I had to come public about that part of my life, there has been more pressure mentally from society, So sometimes it's hard for me to just sit down somewhere and try to laugh, because when do we actually want to have peace? When will everything just be settled? When will we just have peace of mind? So work and pressure does not permit me mostly, but few times maybe. That's me being honest.
But I'm also confused about your answer. What about those freaky?
Well, I have said before that I'm a virgin, except anyone has any contrary. If we have anyone that want to confess live on the Toyin Falala, only here. Don't tomorrow. Don't come outside tomorrow. If you are here now, raise up your hand and say, "Oh, pretty, what's going on here?" I will answer you.
Okay. Oh, okay. It's it's maybe confession time will come after all this, but we'll just ride along.
Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of Nigerians who are relocating to some other countries, some other climes. A lot of them. One of them is in red agbada here and red cap. There are quite a number of them that are checking out greener pastures out there. Is this something that comes to your mind at times? And is it something you would be considering?
No, never. I could go out there for work, but I always come home. There's I don't know how, I don't know why, but I'm so attached to Nigeria, and I am so committed to the future success and prosperity of our country. Why? Because as much as people will always say, sometimes when I'm having conversations with elders, with renowned personalities in society, they will tell me, Debo, I just believe we all can't run away. The country, the nation, our nation is blessed with a lot of milk and a lot of honey. I think what we need is to awaken not just the consciousness of our leaders, but the consciousness of we the people. Why? Because the leaders themselves are products of the society. So I've always said that there's a culture of corruption in Nigeria. For anything to be better, we must eradicate that culture of corruption, not just from the very top, from every one of us. Because there's that.
And sir, my good friend, Mr. Macaroni, to those who do creative things like both of you, TK, I think relocation is always a bad idea. I can give you a long list. Tunjo Ilana in London, some people, Juju Band, they came. I don't think they connect to their new society very well. In fact, in some cases, they actually lose their prominence. And we're also testing this with creative writings. That relocation can actually affect your creativity. See, it's nice. Kids work very well, say in Nigeria. If he moves that skit to London or to Little Lagos in Houston, it may not work where societies are constituted differently. So for a person like him, and you know, when Bob Marley died, Mango Production was looking for a replacement, and the two replacement did not work. So Sunny Ade, California, he bought a house. The only thing he did is the one they call Odu, which is 33 minutes, because they told him the long song will not work. You know, he has this one that he called Odu, which is in short breaks. That was the only outcome of it. And then they tried Fela, and Fela said, I can't do for you 5 minutes. So what I'm trying to say is, for some disciplines and something like engineering or banking, it may work. But for the kind of thing that it's doing, it will be a disaster unless it changes its entire creative apparatus. So I like his answer, but I also want to allude to the risk involved in that kind of decision.
Okay, thank you. You want to react?
Yeah,
Debo,
I just want to
I can go on.
Yeah, just very briefly as well that, well, for content creation, for the industry of content creation, and also this is a plus for everyone tuning in and everyone who is maybe or wants to join content creation. I think largely you can do it from anywhere. As a matter of fact, I think it would help you in some way, even when you go out there, because maybe by then you are even exposed to a new society. Because most of the people that influenced me content creation wise were abroad. Twice was shooting content from abroad. Chris Clan was shooting content from abroad. Ade, yes, Ade Abapade. There's, what's the name? You know, a number of them. Also, a lot of people were also here. But I'm just saying, I think for our industry of content creation, you might not be doing too badly out there. Yes, can it change your pattern? Maybe. The risk are maybe both sides. Yeah.
Well, I can simply tell you that some people are watching this at the airports right now and on their way out. So, but it is okay. Prof's view is well taken. Now, you saw the primaries of political parties recently,
Yes.
at least the big ones.
Yes.
And you saw all that happened.
Yes.
both on screen and behind on the scene and behind the scenes.
Yes.
Now, if you were to serve as an advisor to an aspirant who you are supposed to help win the race, what would be your advice based on this issue of incentives? Let me use that word, giving to delegates and all. What will be your advice? Would you advise your candidate to go and play along, play the game the way it is, to sail through, or you advise your candidate to abstain and possibly fail?
Well, personally, before I would have even been advisor to any aspirant or anyone, it will definitely be someone that shares the type of ideology, my own type of beliefs. So, and therefore, you should already know that you cannot, under any circumstance or guise, say that because you want the people to vote for you, then you go ahead to offer incentives, or you induce people with cash or what have you, cars or whatever, and say, oh, vote for me. And the reason is simple. Anyone that is doing that definitely does not have the interest of the country or the people in the country at heart. You are going, it's an investment. So you are investing, if you spend 100 million on each contestant, or maybe the delegates, as it were, that's huge. So who is going to pay? Who is going to pay for it? Definitely the people. So people that carry on that type of ideology have nothing that they want to offer the society apart from corruption. That's it.
Okay, Debo. You're a content creator. How do you handle issues of piracy?
Well, for us, most of the time you even find people just pick up your content, they post it on their page. Some will even have the decency to tag the handle and say, oh, by this is from this person. Some others just put it. So right now there are no steps that have been taken to say, oh, look, this is our content, you cannot just use them. One, because of the limitations to these platforms. It's different if it's a film. The film is yours. You have the soft copy, you have the disc, but you are creating content for online media. And we all know how social media platforms are. They are not controlled by the content creators. They are controlled by the platforms themselves. I think one of the platforms that has even helped in this type of issue is YouTube. When people take your content, you can actually report it. You can ask that it be taken down, or you can say that, oh, look, whatever revenue this person is generating from that content that he or she has posted, it comes back to you. So, but for the other platforms, that's a step that has been taken for YouTube. But for the other platforms, we continue to engage the stakeholders, because we have means by which we engage these people and say, oh, look, what can we do about this?
Which do you find more tasking? Stage acting or acting or skits production?
Oh, it's stage acting. It is stage acting. Stage. I can create a content now, right now, as we speak. I can do it in the comfort of my office. I can do it right now and put it out there. But for stage, you see all of this beautiful plays. If I want to bring one to life, we have months of rehearsals. We have to rehearse and come. So absolutely it's stage. But guess what? I think I love stage more. I don't think, I know I love stage more, But for content creation, I can do it while sleeping.
Okay, great. Debo, sorry. I'll say this. Great job you do. Fantastic job you do.
Thank you.
Your followership is amazing. But there are some people who cannot stand you.
Absolutely.
There are some people who may not, let me use that word, may not be able to stand you. They can't probably stand your kind of humor. What do you have to say?
Entertainment, art in itself is open to criticisms. As a matter of fact, the way we were taught in theater, you will do dress and tech now, and your guys in the department will lash you. What's this? Of course. So you will have a Bible. That's what we used to call it in school. You do Bible and they'll tell you. So any work of art is open to criticism. So there are some people, I know that there are some people that would not find my content entertaining. And that is totally fine. Why? Because I don't find all content entertaining. So there are some people who would appreciate, there are some who say, oh, okay, I don't like this for certain reason. But art has not and will never stop being a function of society. I said earlier that everything that we use to perform is being created by society. The muse is from society. So best believe that whatever Mr. Macaroni or any other artist brings to life or brings to your screen on phone or any other means available to you is by function of what Mr. Macaroni has seen or read or heard in society or about society. And not everyone will be comfortable with that. And that's
okay.
fine.
Okay, great. You've been head boy in the school. You've been president of an association and a
He's having problems. Well, why Mr. Shudimu is having problems?
First 4 things you will sort out.
Okay.
He's no longer having problems, sir. Are you there?
I'm with you.
Okay.
Did you hear the question?
No, sir.
You are lost.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. I can hear you.
Good. You've been head boy
yes.
in a school.
Yes.
You've been the president of a student association.
Mm-hmm.
You've been involved in a lot of activism and all that.
Yes.
If you were given the chance as to be the president of this country for one time, what are the first 4 things you will tackle?
This question is a setup. The reason this question is a setup is because some people will first ask me before this question, what they will first ask is, would you consider taking a political position in the nearest future? But I see what you have done. You have dodged that and you have hit. Well, like I would, let me first say that being president, before you can be president, you must have shown interest in being president and then vie for the office of president. I have not done either of the two, but I'm not going to run away from your question. If I were to be president of the country, the first thing that we need to solve
is to eradicate mosquitoes. Eradicate all mosquitoes. Someone said that.
There are no mosquitoes where you are now. The first step will be education. People must be educated. A society that is not educated runs the risk of failure, as we are currently having. Education is of paramount importance. And if you look at it, it is this lack of education that our leaders from time immemorial have used as a weapon to seize power all of the time. So education is the first. We need, look, if you want a society to be better, after education, you need to create an enabling society. A society that gives a level playing ground for every citizen of that society to succeed. A society that is not partial, is not one person that has the monopoly of success. Everyone, equal level playing ground, such that if I've gone to school, which like I've said, education, if I've gone to school and I come out, I am able to compete with any other person. It doesn't matter whether you're the president's son or you're a cousin to the governor, or a level playing ground. And that has to be created. You know, another major thing I would really love to address is our constitution. I cannot go into the what's the word? I cannot begin to mention how the irregularities that we have in the 1999 Constitution. But you see, that Constitution has to be a complete overhaul that does not allow for some certain people to rule the entire nation as it were. And the Constitution permits it, the Constitution allows it. So another day we'll talk about this Constitution full length. You know, we need to revisit our Constitution. One more thing, which other thing would I like to change in Nigeria, if given the chance? Okay, I already mentioned education. There's something within that education. I've always said that in my mind, now let me confess, I've always said that if I actually have this opportunity, one thing in our educational system is missing. That the private and the public universities, the way they run, private universities need to adapt to a lot of things, but don't adapt to ASU strike. That one is not there, no. But you need to adapt to a lot of things, a lot of freedom. I have said before in one article I wrote, I said that private universities must begin to allow their students to enjoy the freedom. I'll explain that. It's not because when I say freedom, a lot of the stakeholders in private universities always say, oh, if you want freedom, go to a public university. Don't come here and promote indecency. Or no, it doesn't have to be. Every university student has a right, should have the right. I won't call it a privilege, should have the right to go through the ultimate university learning experience. It is not the function of a university to train a child. You cannot train a student in the university on morals, on what have you. No, it's not the duty of the university. So there has to be a lot of freedom for private students in Nigerian universities, so that breeze, they will be able to create and do better. I know more on what I'm saying. Hopefully, some other time I have time to branch on that.
Can I give you one more question?
Yes.
No. I mean, my good friend Shodimu, can I?
Okay. That is of course ringing the bell for me. On a final note.
Yes.
Where do you see Debo or Mr. Macaroni, your person? Where do you see yourself in the next, say, 10 years? In the industry.
He has ruled out.
In the society.
Ruled out checking out.
In the society.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself?
He said he has ruled out checking out of the country.
No, I'm not even talking about physical location. I'm not talking about physical location here.
Okay.
Where do you see yourself in the scheme of things in the society? Your person. What level of development are you looking towards?
A stakeholder in the Nigerian entertainment scene that in 10 years should have been able to create adequate opportunities, lots of opportunities to burden artists, that there are a lot of, is a place of interest for me, because I talked earlier about my phase of depression when I was going through frustration and tiredness and saying, look, I'm not getting jobs, I'm not getting film gigs, nobody's calling me to come and act. I understand that phase of frustration. And the industry has not really done much to help budding artists, to help artists that want to be as successful as any successful artist in the industry. So we need to create opportunities for these artists to come. So I like to see myself as a stakeholder in the Nigerian entertainment scene, and of course, still using my voice and my platform, not just the platform that I have now, but the platform that we'll have been able to build in 10 years to continue to speak not only for ourselves, but for the greater good of the country, for everyone, every Nigerian that is not as comfortable as someone like me is. So I strongly believe that if God has blessed me with whatever it is that he has blessed with, I'm not the only one that deserves to be living a good life. Every other Nigerian should be able to live a good life. So we won't stop at that as well.
Let me thank Prof. Let me thank Prof. and Professor Fadola. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Oh, don't go.
Debo.
Don't go. Yeah. Go ahead.
Debo.
Go ahead.
Finally, what advice would you give ASU and federal government? I wake up every day and I see these children at home. What advice would you give to ASU and federal government?
It's pitiable that the Nigerian government is playing with the lives of the students. It's playing with the future of Nigerian youths. It's sad. So it's a country, and that's why, like I mentioned earlier, it is part of the tools that they have used and they are still using. Lack of adequate education. How will a society that wants to progress not see that the people, that young people need to be educated? So my only advice, which I want to talk, than to tell them, beg them to consider the future of Nigerian youth. If indeed Nigerian youths are the leaders of tomorrow, if indeed the government has, and it's very disappointing for this particular government that rode on the premise of quality education. That was one of the major campaign tools. Oh, this education, that education. And for months now, Nigerian students are still at home. So I implore them, I urge them to consider the future of Nigerian youths and retrace their steps.
Thank you very much, but don't go, sir, because I want to follow up on that, your question, 10 years time and others. So creative jobs like the one you do, music, the talent doesn't go on forever. Even if you have the talent, the audience will change and they don't appreciate it anymore. So that what people live on is their investment when they're doing well. Well, the best example is Ebenezer Obey that your dad knows so well. In his 20s, he had been investing. And creative people who make the mistake when they are at the peak of their career without consolidating the investment and finances, they pay a big price in later years. Very big price. I don't want to mention any name. I've been part of a team that has pressured governments to do something for this one, do something for that one. So, because the audience will change from Juju to Fuji, from Apala to something else. And on that, I want to return to a point that Professor Femi Oshofisa mentioned in an essay many years ago. He suggested, and I'm happy he's here, you can put the argument better than I do, that we should create an endowment for people like you, for people like Shodimu. An endowment that would do multiple roles, support system that you mentioned, for budding artists, but also support system for those who are retired, but their means of income have been depleted. Give it so. How do we do this balancing? Because the creative world requires endowment. I mean, it's substantial endowment to make it work in the long run. To produce new artists you're mentioning about, and to make sure that those who are successful didn't die hungry in their old age.
Well, sir, you know, another thing that is lacking in the Nigerian entertainment scene is lack of investors in the industry. We do not have, I think it's just now that people are starting to believe in the acting industry. When I say entertainment industry, let me focus on actors, actors. I think for musicians, it's still a bit fair, but for actors, we have had costs. In fact, that 2018, was it 2018 or 17? I remember I produced a movie, and I produced that movie by funds from my father and my mother. They produced, they gave me. So imagine, so that's what I say when I say there's no support system. So I think moving on, what we can do is a great idea, but I also think that those people in their peak, as it is, the way we're having this conversation, it should be a function of a donation, a contribution from every person. Because I do not expect that you get to a certain age and maybe perhaps you have not done enough to sustain you when you are at that age. Those that are, how do I put it now? Those that are reigning, so to say, at that time, will be asking questions as to why there should be a part of that donation, why there should be a part of that person's donation. And that's why we find that now, when some particular people are sick, even those in the industry, how much do they do to come to the aid of such people? So I strongly believe that, like I said, it's a personal goal for me, especially for budding artists, but this is a fair point. We are even creating a show. We have called it For the Legends. We're creating a show where we have legends come to our studio, we record, we talk to them about their growth, how they've come to be, ask some certain questions, and we give them, a token, whatever we can do. But individuals, it's not sustainable for individuals. This is something that has to be done by professional bodies, that has to be done by investors. They need to come around and see how they can support this industry. But sir, Professor Tony Falola, let me ask, if we are calling on maybe government, maybe investors to come to the aid of film practitioners or talents, as it were, is it the same for every other industry? No. Is it the same in academics? Is it the same in medicine? Is it the same or do we just see it as a function of, oh, because these talents are popular and, oh, we know them, is that the sole reason? These are questions that we on the inside need to ask ourselves and see that it is us on the inside that should come together and create something that is much more sustainable for everyone, even when you get to that particular age.
So what about, have you thought of putting your skits together into book form and doing translations?
No, I've not thought of that. Book forms?
Yeah. Well, that part of what a program like this does is to throw up ideas that you think about.
Yeah, and it sounds interesting.
For instance, Professor Pamela Smith is here. She's a prominent translator. She just translated Shaworoide Bakumishola from Yoruba to English,
Wow.
which TK will be redoing in another film. So I think, and you may discuss with Professor Yerima and others, the possibility of turning them into book form. And that way other people can also begin to do the skit in their various campuses. So we'll take a 5 minutes break, and then the audience, please don't go. 5 minutes break, and then you are not leaving. We play one music for you, and the audience will now take over and ask as many questions as they want. Thank you. We're back. We're back. And you see the power of creativity. So, Professor Nuru Yakub, thanks for joining us. Former Vice Chancellor, University of Abuja, former Vice Chancellor, Sokoto State, Professor Amadou Sani, Vice Chancellor, Fante University, thanks for joining us. We're very grateful. Pamela Smith, the President of the National Academy of Letters, Professor Duroni, thank you for joining us. Sakari Gundu, Vice Chancellor, we are grateful. You can see the quality of the audience shows the respect they have for Mr. Macaroni, and the very fact that they enjoy his program. Tunde Kelani, thank you very much for joining us. The columnist for Punch, Professor Abimbola Adelakun, very well known. Thank you so much. So let us now take comments and questions from the audience. I want provocative questions, please. Questions that will challenge him. We're not here to praise him, but to challenge him. So, Babatola Oshunuga, please challenge him. Go ahead.
Thank you, Prof, for this platform. I'm a regular participant. And thank you, Debo, for coming onto the platform as well today. I've got just two quick things. First, an observation, Prof. Looking at Debo's engagement and troubles he had in the university that he attended. One thing I will say is that some Nigerian universities administrators, they are very impatient and they lack mechanism for engagement when students have different view. I went to university in Nigeria, different universities up to PhD level, so I know what I'm saying. So maybe that's a take home, a feedback for our administrators. But coming to you, Debo, regarding your connection with Alaroye, that is where my own question to you. What can you do with your platform? Because Alaroye is a popular medium, but it is not making the profit, because I studied Alaroye for a great time. It is not making the profit because the readership is limited. And I've challenged people that we can do better than this. Yoruba newspaper should be read by many schools, many individuals in Yoruba land. But you have University of Lagos or Labisi Odubajo University that buy Punch, Guardian, everything that is written in English. But they cannot, if you can't go to any library in any of these universities and find a single Yoruba newspaper. What can you do using your platform to make sure that this Yoruba newspaper is widely read, widely purchased by people, industry, schools, and all that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Tola. Great to have you and talk to you. And thank you for your observation on our school administrators. I've always believed, strongly that Nigerian universities, especially our teachers, there's a factor because of our culture, respect, omoluabi, and all of that, which is good. I'm a strong, in fact, I'm omoluabi myself. But I always look for how we can focus on what the university should do, teaching the students. The university, the professors challenge their students and they open their minds. So sometimes you find it that Nigerian students are not bold enough to express their views on certain issues because they fear that their teachers, their professors or doctors will say, so do you think you know more than me? Because of that cultural issue. So I think the high-handedness has to be looked at, as we rightly suggested, and hoping that this is a good feedback for our guys. Coming to what I can do for Alaroye using my platform to advocate, that's how it looks to me that, okay, look, people in the schools and banks, everywhere where you have it, where they buy English papers, should also buy Alaroye. I'll be honest. I like to be honest all the time. First point is the lingua franca in Nigeria. The language that we use to communicate, at least officially, is English language. And a lot of people will argue, especially in corporate companies, what have you, that they are not only Yoruba people, they are Igbo, they are Hausa, this tribe, that tribe. So why are they buying Alaroye newspaper? Are they buying Igbo? Are they buying Hausa? Except we're advocating that papers in all of these languages should be bought as well. So I would say that perhaps these companies, these schools, what have you, are buying because English language is what I can actually work on and agree is the schools, especially the schools that teach Yoruba language. There's no reason why a school should be teaching Yoruba language and you do not read in the Yoruba newspaper, because I want to strongly believe it should be for learning as well, not just to know what is happening, but because you are using that medium as a tool to train the students further. So that to me is objective. Also, if not for this interview, a lot of people did not know, because my dad also is one that will not go about saying, oh, I'm Mr. Macaroni. I will not also go about saying that even though Alaroye, so because I always try to be as objective as possible everywhere. So we'll continue to try. I know my dad and I, the company, we do some underground work, exchange some ideas. Studio in, because if you also look, Alaroye also has gone digital. There's more work to be done, but they're on Facebook, they have the website on YouTube where they also push out digital content, because like you correctly discovered, the readership is not as it used to be, especially because everyone would rather read news on WhatsApp or status or what have you. So we'll continue to do what we can to advocate, especially for schools that look, especially those of you doing Yoruba, Emaka, Alaroye. Well, but thank you again for your observation.
Pelumi Folajimi, Louisiana State University, PhD candidate. Pelumi. You're having problems?
No, I wasn't having problem. The host of the Zoom didn't permit me. Now he has permitted me. Thank you for the permission. I'm glad Professor Femi Yuba is here. Professor Shovison is also here. Professor Shovison, I'm working on Tegoni at PhD level, and I'm working on Tegoni, and I'm working with Professor Yuba. So I'm glad to announce that on this platform because Professor Femi Shovison is here. Debo, thank you for the talk you have made all the while, and I appreciate you. There was a time you said that you had a confrontation with your professor who locked you, and later you locked him.
A professor,
a professor is a professor. In the American context, we say a professor. I understand in Nigerian context, you say a lecturer.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was important to say that in public, because I believe that it's not everything that happened in private that one says in public. But you have your reason. I just don't know why that was necessary, because there's a kind of impression it will create to the members of the public. And also, you didn't say what you did that was wrong, that was probably wrong and provocative. I made the lecturer to behave in that unfortunate
way. No.
But let's go on. This is my question. Okay. Professor.
No, I will address that, but yeah.
Professor Falola asks you if you put your skit into a written form, and you said no. I was not surprised you said no. I was not surprised you said no, because I observed that your kits were improvisational. Many of them were probably not scripted, or not scripted in details, but improvisational. Now, this is my question for you. Yeah. What flexibility and creative enhancement has improvisation, contributed to your creative skills? Improvisation, how has it helped you to be exceedingly creative? That's my first question. My second and last question. Of course, you were trained by Professor Ahmed Yerima. I worked with him a little in 2019 at Obafemi University Dramatical Department. You were trained by him. Of course, you also acknowledged your encounter with Oshofison, who is known as of course, Femi Ubatu, satirist, using drama to satirize some of the ills in the society. I want to ask you, of course, you were probably taught by Kola Oyewo too. He taught at Redeemer's University. And these were scholars, including Oshofison, in fact, including Ahmed Yerima. These were scholars who worked with Soyinka at one time or the other, and they are also independent writers on their own. In the works of Yerima Oshofison, you see a lot of satire being deployed to make a lot of important political statements. I want to ask you, these important scholars you have worked with, who trained you, and whose works you have encountered, how have their works been able to help you in your representation of the Nigerian political scene, which we see in your kit these days? That's my question for you. Thank you.
Before he responds, a small point of correction. He was asked by Shodimu that what will he do differently?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what brought that experience. And he said, given the wisdom he has acquired, he will not have done that.
Exactly.
So let's put that one in context. Yeah. Now, you don't have to respond to that anymore, but respond to the lineage of satire between you and your teachers, or from your teachers to you. We can take that as fair.
Yes. Thank you so much, Prof. Let me, I shouldn't respond again because you have responded to that already, but let me just add briefly that I'm not one to hide my own misdeeds as well. When I find that there's a point where you need to accept your wrongdoings and come forward with it and acknowledge that you shouldn't have done it, you should not be afraid to say it. It's one of the problems that our leaders have. They will never confess. They don't confess to the wrongdoings that they have done. They only go on about the good ones. So was that wrong? Yes. And it's something I want others to learn from, so that tomorrow you don't go about locking your lecturer, or, even if they did that. So we have all made mistakes. The good thing is that we should continue to assiduously work to make sure that these are corrected, and we can always do better. In answer to your question, let me take it from the impact. Yes, the impact of Professor Yerima, especially, who was my direct lecturer. Of course, Professor Yerima would go ahead, even in classes, to talk about the impact writers like Professor Oshofison, Professor Soyinka had. I would use one of his works, Iyase. Professor Yerima, when he wrote Iyase, he told me casually one day, he said, Debo, I wrote this play for you, because he wrote it when we were in Redeemer's University, and I played Iyase. Now, if I relate that work, Iyase, to the present Wahala, Nigerian Wahala that is going on now, I always remember, in Iyase, as right as Iyase was, the son of the king slept with Iyase's wife. He did not only do that, he ridiculed Iyase. He insulted him. Like, who are you? Yeah, I slept with your wife. To hell. Yes. So Iyase was angry. Iyase was the greatest warrior in the land. He has defended the land so many times. He fought for the people. But the son of the king did that and showed no remorse. The king stood by his son. As much as the king loved Iyase, he still stood by his son. At the end of the play, despite everyone understanding that Iyase was wronged, he was offended, it was bad, Iyase died. He died because he refused to succumb to society. Every other person was saying, they cheated you, but calm down, forget it, it has happened, it has happened. And he said, no, till the end, he would rather die. So that particular play, sometimes when I go back to it and remember my conversations with Prof, I say, I hope I'm not going to die. Because, as I was saying before, when I spoke with my dad on here too, and a number of other people, my dad would call me Marora or Sha Marora. My mom, everyone would tell me Sha Marora. In my head, it is wrong, it is not right, we must continue to speak up, we must continue to fight. So when I come out now and say, okay, look, instead of all the time carrying this your head to go outside there and you are risking your life, look at what Yerima has done with places like Iyase, with places like the Wine, lottery ticket, even though that's coming, but look at the function, the heart that this place have forged. You can as well carry this your content and speak to the consciousness of these leaders. Will it change them overnight? No. But it will let the people see that in my own right, I am still doing my advocacy, letting the people know that, look, the way you are going about this thing is wrong. And at the same time, speaking to the leaders, to our leaders, to look at it from the perspective of we, the people. This is what we are going through. This is where the shoe is pinning us. Let it be that you are looking at it that it is your own child that is in this situation. And let that play be what purges you to do better in the society.
Thank you very much. And Pelumi, give our greetings to Baba Yuba. I enjoyed his memoir, and we have to invite him to interview him on this program. Thank you very much. Dabale, I apologize if I didn't pronounce your name very well. Yonkiam Dabale. Please introduce yourself because you are new to me. Please unmute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, Professor Falola and everyone else. And good to be here, Mr. Macaroni. My name is Yokiam Dabale. I'm a PhD student in Pasadena, California. I'm originally actually from a small village called Bawagarhi in northern Nigeria. And so I watch, by the way, my PhD is in intercultural studies. So gender is one of the areas of my expertise. And it is arguably safe to say that I've watched 99% of your videos because I use art. I watch art, African art, Nigerian movies. I've been watching them, I would say, since the 90s. Okay. And because I'm trying to look at different elements of Nigerian culture within the arts, the Nigerian art. And I noticed something about your work is that, so growing up, there's a reason why I mentioned my ethnic group. Really, I'm a Pan-Africanist, but I mentioned this for a reason. And that is to say, or my location within the Nigerian context. That is because growing up, I'm a pretty petite woman. I'm pretty small. So growing up, we get harassed constantly about being small, eat a lot, or it may be the popular language. I'm not Hausa, but I speak Hausa. So within the Hausa language, kuchia binchi, so that you get fat. And we get harassed, skinny women. And I noticed, and I also lived in Sierra Leone. Okay, so I speak Salo Creole, so I speak Sierra Leone Creole also. And I also watch Yoruba movies, just giving you context. Now I will learn. So I'll now learn. So my question is about, I notice the women that you portray in your art is mostly heavy-set women. But I wonder whether there has been a shift, because now there's this shift within the Nigerian context among, let's say, Nigerian celebrities to be skinny. Something that those of us who are naturally skinny, and then I also work out too, and they used to make fun of us. So now it's a thing. And then now it seems as if you are reintroducing us to how it used to be, because based on my understanding, actually, heavy-set women are considered beautiful within the African context, generally speaking. So is this intentional or not? That's my question. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Why are you so polite and political? Why don't you say, Mr. Macaroni, what is the problem between you and big breast and big talk?
No, she's doing well. She's doing well. Well, is it intentional? No. Now maybe. When I started, I noticed that personally, because Debo, the actor, personally has a thing. Debo, the actor, Professor Toyin, I don't tell lies. So your interview, I'm confessing a lot of things. So let me come back. Debo, as the person, the actor now, has a thing for big something, So, but I'm a virgin, I'm still a virgin. But coming back to the discussion. So when I started, because I already have friends who are like that, it wasn't even a function of, I'm looking for them like that. But because they were always around me. Oh yeah, come, I'm acting this. Come, oh yeah, featuring this, featuring that. So that was, and then it now became a thing for that character. People now knew, the audience now knew that character loved that size, as it were. Because for we, in drama, I would say that the actor and the character must become one for the process of drama to be complete. So because Debo became one with Mr. Macaroni, Debo liked so we started to feature them, and then it became a thing. People knew that Mr. Macaroni liked them like that. So we just kept it that way.
So thank you for that question. Some time ago, a group of Black women began to complain that why are you all featuring light-skinned women? And that what are you trying to communicate? I think she's driving out issues around representation and the consequences. You don't have to answer, but maybe in some other skits, you may begin to say, okay, there are sugar daddies like Falola without a big stomach. Thank you very much. Awolola Oluwatoyosi. Awolola Oluwato. Please introduce yourself.
Good day, Professor. Good day, everybody. My name is Awolola Oluwatoyosi from the University of Ibadan. It's a pleasure to be here. I would just like to comment on what Mr. Debo said about incentives given to people who had just concluded primaries for political parties. My take is, I personally feel is quite difficult to separate politics and corruption. I feel that this is my opinion. I feel it's quite difficult to separate politics and corruption, because when you look at even the developed world during their election period, like the Joe Biden and Trump election, for example, there was a particular time when they were sharing like packs of food for citizens with stickers of Trump on it. So like this, what they did in the US at that particular time, we can see is as a kind of like bribery or something to like attract voters to vote for them. They didn't consider it as, oh, they are luring them to vote. They didn't term it as luring them to vote. So why is it that in Nigeria, when a candidate gives like people that want to vote like food or money, we take it as corruption, we take it as bribery, we take it as pushing people to vote, something of sort? Why is it that we don't, the Western world see it as just gifts, and we in Africa or in Nigeria, we see it as corruption, as Debo said? And my question to Debo is, does it feel like it can be separated? Can corruption and politics be separated? Can we practice politics and our political activities in Nigeria where there is no corruption, or it's just a way of life and we have to just go with it?
Thank you. Can I simply say money and politics are linked, and they can also both be linked to corruption? Please, you can write down the question, because we have so many people who want to ask questions. You can roll your answer into the other ones. Balogun Olasheni, Balogun.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Balogun Olasheni Bokini, although I'm also known as Balogun Ola Omoyagba.
Omoyagba.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I think I connect more with a professor in the area of Yoruba history. That's my passion. I'm a student of history. Most importantly, the history of Yoruba, because I'm a Yoruba nationalist. I'm also an activist. I'm based in Canada. I'm also into films and production here in Canada. And I'm one of the directors of the Black Actors Guild in Canada. So we run a non-profit organization for Black actors and filmmakers in Canada. We've been doing it for quite some time now. And then I'm also happy to be here. So when Professor told me about this, I told him I wouldn't miss it for the world. And I'm here. And I'm happy that we're here together. So basically, my question is this, for Macaroni. I believe your name is Debo, and then you're also Yoruba president. Have you thought of ways on how you could, let's say, promote our culture, our tradition? I'm talking about Yoruba tradition, Yoruba culture, through your art. Has it crossed your mind? And if it has, what steps have you taken towards that, towards achieving it? Okay. And then, secondly, this might be like an introduction, this would be like an invitation. So I also run a platform for Yoruba youth, and then they probably would want to, if possible, get to listen to you again, and then get to know your story, how you started and how you got here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will link the two of you, and if you want him to visit Canada, I will link you with him so that he can also be there physically. Thank you very much. We are very grateful. Erinle Taufik Opeolu. Erinle. I apologize if I don't pronounce your name very well. Taufik, yes?
Yeah, good evening, sir. My name is Taufik from Ogun State. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah. I want to appreciate Mr. Macaroni for everything he has said so far. He has answered so many of the questions and the rest. I just want to ask him, recently there are people on the Lagos Stadium advocating for youth to register for their PVC and the rest. I want to ask him, what is he doing, or what is he going to do to encourage the youth to participate in the coming election? And does he have a platform that is going to give the youth in encouraging them to vote in the coming election? And the next thing, the candidates that have been presented to us by the famous parties, for me personally, I don't think they are worthy of the post, and is not actually what the youth want. How do we come about presenting our own candidates that we can all vote for and put in that position?
Thank you, Mr. Taufik. You answer your questions later on. Afis, Mr. Afis Sufianu, excuse me if I don't pronounce your name very well.
You actually pronounce it very well. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Prof. Thank you for bringing me to this platform. And Mr. Macaroni, thank you for your presentation. My question will be very straightforward on the institutionalization of your, let me say, your artists, that we have been artists. How are you going to institutionalize it to be able to continue? And to be able to continue, that's one. Then secondly, how are you going to be able to do some kind of a package that will reduce the tax, or the kind of a way of trying to subsidize or reduce the cost of attending the institution? Because I was able to produce one of my articles through the help and assistance of Professor Falola, a conference that held in 2017 at OOU, OSU, and many other conferences like that. The one at Ibadan 2018, the one of 2019 at, so I couldn't attend that, but there is another one coming up at Abuja. He was able to reduce the cost for the students, especially for PhD students, for graduate students, because I'm actually presently running a PhD program at University of Lagos at the Department of Philosophy. And most of my article and my trend that was trying to follow is Tony Falola, that's actually bring out what is actually in me, because he offered a lot of things that I was able to buy some of his books, like Martus Suter Than Salt, many other like that, where he has to happen to be the emeritus that becomes to be a professor, the Beku that he drank is urine, many other things like that. What I'm trying to chip in is that how are you going to assist the upcoming artists to be able, for the sake of the fact that you said in your program that if you happen to be a president, you are going to concentrate on education. So in the line of the education, if you are not able to become the president, while you are trying to institutionalize your thoughts, how are you going to assist people, to encourage people to be more engaged in your institution? Then lastly, you said in your presentation that we need to restrict morality, that morality is not the function of, it shouldn't be within the line screen of the education. If it's not in the line screen of education, where is it supposed to be? And the last one is that you talk about Alaroye, this or that. But if we are going to be distributing a thought or communicate in Yoruba, we need to ask ourselves, in the secondary school, are they still doing Yoruba language? In the primary school, are they still teaching Yoruba language? What are you going to do to foster and promote the Yoruba culture and Yoruba language? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Afe Sufianu, and I appreciate your mentioning me. The advice I give to people is that just take 1 or 2 courses. Don't do too many. I'm only interested in education. The Toyinfala Center, scholarship, the conferences, and publishing. If Mr. Macaroni were to advise me, I would just say, don't do too many things. Don't say today I'm giving church money, tomorrow mosque, another day theater, another day museum. I think just focus on your own passion. And if you focus on your own passion, whatever contributions you make will create more impact. Fumilayo, no, sorry, before Fumilayo, Dr. Samson, Dean of Student Affairs at Adeboyega University. Dr. Samson.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Prof, sir. I appreciate this privilege. Freaky. Ogadebo.
You're doing well.
I'm doing seriously. No matter. Very fantabulous.
Yeah, doing well.
Well, I want to follow on what Ustaz Sufiano said. You know, I like Motunde. Well, you know, most of your content about Motunde, your home, taught morals, you know, and that is a view from which I will see some of our private university talking about morals, and that is the concern of Ustaz Sufiano. You know, we have a moral orientation with different faith private universities. Perhaps you need to mention some specific areas where you want private university to look at for improvement, to encourage students on freedom. I'm a dean of students. I know that students may suffer depression when they do have freedom. We meet with a very large group of deans. We have what we call Adaptation, which is Association of Dean of Students in Nigeria. These are some of the things we'll look at. So we appreciate this, your perspective as an ex-student of a private, faith-based private university is very important. Secondly, I would like to see, you know, we saw your passion at NSAS. You really gingered the nation. And we saw that you are uncompromising, unflinching, and we saw that you refuse to be bribed at any level, even when you are facing them at the federal level, you understand? So we appreciate that. Now, I want to see how can we translate that energy of NSAS to the coming election in a positive dimension that we will stop things like vote buying. You know, you see the way people contributed money towards the NSAS. Can we contribute money to stop people from vote buying so that we can have a successful election and make a choice of our own? Not that somebody will come and buy us and buy our future. So that is very important, and I would like you to look at it if that is a possibility. What can you do? Owing to your influence, your stewardship of influence all around the netizen and all of us in Nigeria. And lastly, I could see that education has had a lot of impact on you. You've made a lot of reference to Professor Shofison, Professor Yerima. And Okuyemi Shodimu, you know, I knew when he left NTA to go to abroad and study, and he came back and he became an influencer. He actually worked along with my father in NTA, Jaula. You know, but the good thing is this: how much are we doing to, you know, some of our skit makers? We know that lacuna is there, that the education is missing. What are we doing? So everything will be normal. We can free key the account for. Thank you very much. Fabulous. Prof.
Olukayode Odujobi. Olukayode Odujobi. Olukayode Odujobi. You are not there? Dr. Abimbola Adelaku. Abimbola Adelaku, please.
Hello. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, Okay, yes, good afternoon and congratulations. Debo, I'm very, very happy to see you. I have known about you since you were in Redeemers University, and I'm very proud of the person you have become. Honestly, I am very, very proud of you. I'm your great fan. I watch you all the time, and I love you so much, okay? So I have two questions for you, but first of all, let me quickly say this. First, when you are a successful person like this, everybody's going to give you an agenda, right? Cultural agenda, economic agenda, women agenda, national agenda. What are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? And I want to say that please resist the temptation to be every Nigeria sociology teacher. At the end of the day, it's not what will distinguish you is not your ability to be able to, speak on domestic violence, speak on this, speak on being back our girls, Chibok girls, all those things, but to be able to improve on the ideology that our teachers like Professor Osofishan taught us, right? It's not to focus on the symptoms of Nigerian problem, but ideological thinking. That's what will distinguish you, not to talk about problems. I mean, it's good to talk about them, but to always to think, push ideas, push people's consciousness. That's what is important, Thank you very much. I just want to put that one out there. And so, yeah, two things that I want to ask you as a question. First is that I really love your comedies a lot. But again, when I watch a lot of Nigerian films, I see there's a lot of focus on comedies. And I always wonder, why is it that Nigerian stories, we do a lot more comedies than the otherwise, serious stories? As an artist, I know you know what we call tragedy when we talk about drama, right? Why is it that those kind of intense stories are usually, played down for comedy? That's number one. Then number two, I would like to know what the feedback process that you work with, what it looks like. I know that generally as a theater artists have critics who help them to, conversation partners who helps them to improve on their art. But as somebody that works with the digital medium, that works, comedy skit, I haven't really seen people like critics, rising up to work with the kind of work that you're doing, right? I haven't seen critics that have actually been, doing works around comedy skit and this is a different terrain. So I want to know the kind of feedback process, that reworks your mind through which you take criticisms and critiques, to resharpen your work. Those are my two questions for you. Thank you very much. Once again, Debo, you are doing well. I'm really proud of you.
All right.
You wanted to say, Debo, you are fantabulous. Now, she's left. Before you leave, please, can you bring her back? She's gone. So this is a small conversation. She's a writer herself, and she did a major on Ibadan. So isn't it too early for those critics to emerge? Because does it not take some time? I have my own critics, but it just did not happen in the first 10 years of my writing. Professor Yerima said students are writing about him. When I put this together, the way I was asking people is to structure their questions the way you've structured them. So, and I'm sure certain things will have been clarified. He would think about many of these issues. The course is going to adopt, and some criticisms will take. How does that process work? How can he get feedback still very early in this career?
Can I go ahead?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm just asking.
You want me to respond or you want him to respond?
Yes. Because you're a critic yourself.
Okay, so let me quickly respond and then he will talk about his experience. And I think when I talk about critics, I know there are different categories of critics. There are those that write the ones for like maybe magazines, and then there are very academic ones who will write extended dissertation. And I was really glad when Professor Yerima said some of the students are already working on it. I had the mind to do some things on his female representation, which I really enjoy so much. And I think like some refocusing will be really important. That's why I am also raising the question, because I see that he tries to move beyond the very pejorative ways that women are expressed. And that's one way one way is the academic type. The others are people that hold their conversation partners. They are there for him, maybe as peers, maybe as newspaper analysts, maybe as columnists, different categories. I don't think it's necessary to take 10 years or to build like those kind of critics, because we are also in a fast-paced era where the feedback mechanisms that people work with in these times are very fast, So I also think that this should be ongoing conversation as he's producing, he's listening to those critics and taking feedbacks to do his work further. But I would really like to know how it has been for him.
Okay, so I will be teaching him because I teach a class on film, and I'll be having him because sometimes like when the writer essays on I send the essays to him because I use his October and some other thing, and I would say students and their interpretations outside of Nigeria, those within Nigeria, they're very fascinating. So if people like Professor Yerima and others can be teaching him, if we're creating provenance for him, some of those essays will be very useful. And you too can teach him at some point because she teaches performance here at the University of Texas at Austin. Thank you very much. Simon Adeshola, Simone Adeshola.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Mr. Macaroni, you are really doing well. Good evening. Great job you are doing there. I'm speaking right from Kano State here. One particular part I would like to talk about is your activist part. In fact, I really love the part you took in the last MSAT stuff that happened. But concerning this upcoming election, I want to know, as a youth, in fact, personally myself, I really believe in if we youth of this nation, if we can, have one mouth. Understand? I don't know if you have that platform that can gather youth in this nation, where we can always sensitize ourselves, talk about good governance. Because if you are talking of youth getting to the leadership position, you have to start taking actions. You understand? You have to start taking actions. We, the youth of present now, will be the old ones of the nearest future. And it is whatsoever we do now that is going to have effect on our upcoming children. You understand? So I don't know, is that a platform, or if you don't have, I don't know, if you can put it into your consideration, if you can have a platform that can, gather youth all over the nation, in every state, all tribes,
Thank you.
We can be
Thank you, Mr. Adeshola. We are very grateful. And bear in mind the comment by the last speaker that my comment, he has to focus, and he may refuse to be drawn to so many agendas, as the last speaker said. Fumilayo, I apologize, I don't know your last name, Miss Fumilayo. Go ahead, please.
Hello, sir.
Yes, ma. Go ahead, ma.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Hold on 1 minute, please. Ogami, just come inside. I'm on Zoom call. Yeah.
I saw you on one of his kids. Is this your store?
This is my store, sir.
He used this store in one of his kids.
No, not at all. Not this one, sir.
Not this one. You're not the one he bought condom from.
No.
Okay.
But I do sell in case he wants to use my store. He has to come down to Dallas.
Go ahead, ma.
Yes, sir. Agbanya Dallas, and Mr. Macaroni, you are really, really, really doing well.
Thank you.
I'm following back to back. It's because I wanted to know what you've just posted today that makes me to know that you have a Zoom call today. And I do appreciate your efforts, at least as a young youth in Nigeria, the way you are just too vibrant. That's what I love. And I'm
praying to God Almighty God, no one in this earth will you will cut your life short. Mine is not a question because I'm not so much an educationist like that, but it's a request. Please, I follow all your skits on Instagram. Sometimes I do leave my comments, but I know you have a lot on your hand. You couldn't read it. What I'm particular about is that if you look at the social media, what it has helped with the youth of nowadays, you can just level it up a little bit. I know some of us are not still going on the right path, but the little ones that have joined the Sorosoke generation, you can see is not so low as those days.
Yeah.
But I want us to work on our parents too. Our parents, like the artisans, the ones that cannot understand broken English and normal skill that you do, please. Ẹ jẹ́ ká bá àwọn ìyá lọ́jà, àwọn bàbá lọ́jà, àwọn wẹ́dà, àwọn ọlọ́kadà yẹn náà. If there's a skit you can do for us, that we can just be sharing under our platform, that will make them to understand that they shouldn't buy us anymore. We know we might not get it 100% 2023, but the way I see your energy and some others, not only you, and everybody, the way I see your verse, and I'm blaming myself that why I'm not in that country, but there's nothing I can do. I can't help myself. I run away because of that thing.
Oh, so you're not calling from Nigeria?
I'm not calling from Nigeria, sir. I'm calling from Dallas, Texas. I run away because I want to.
You're calling from Texas?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. I thought you are calling from Lagos, where I use your store.
No.
I apologize.
So I just want to please, if you can do that skit for us, I'm ready to hearing it. Because before we left, we know what they do to those Iyalojas and Babalojas and the people that cannot relate. We know what they do to them. Immediately they give them token. They buy their minds. But Tabali break it down. Just like you go to school, look at the one you did in your mom's store or something. I love that message. Those kids cannot forget that message you passed on that very skit. They can never forget. So please, let us, if I can talk to my mother will talk to his friend, my friend will talk to their friend, will talk to each other. Look at what they say. Oh, this is what they have been doing for us. So we should just, please, I know you have a lot. You have a lot. Just try and do that for us.
Thank you.
And if this is one of the 3 ideas we've taken from this program is worth spending the time. It's a language issue now. Maybe he has to consider maybe Pidgin English or Yoruba and Igbo sometimes, or he does it and there'll be subtitles that they can watch. Thank you. Raphael Njoku from Dakota. Professor Njoku from Southern Dakota. Excuse me if I got it wrong.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Mr. Macaroni, let me join others in saying that you're doing very well. I have 2 quick questions. But first of all, you remind me of one of the Yoruba actors in the 70s and 80s, Mr. Ojo Ladipo Theatre. He was my best actor all over the world. He was incredible. Wow. Yeah, if you remember him. And so I'm just saying that you are incredible. I enjoy your skits. I have 2 quick questions. One, I hope you have been able to reap the rewards of your talent. I mean, in terms of making money, I don't know how that goes, but you should be a millionaire now. And secondly, you talked about pressures in your work. So my notion was that you are completely autonomous. You have autonomy to do whatever you do. So where are the pressures coming from? Is it coming from politicians or those who sponsor your skits and other businesses, or what?
Thank you. Chido Numa, We Are Biafrans. As the author of We Are Biafrans, a prominent Nigerian.
Well, how are you?
Fine, thank you, sir.
I tried to get you, was it last year, to when we wanted to do 40 years of the assassination of Dele Giwa, for an event on October 19 and 1 year of NSAS, but it was a bit challenging. We had wanted you to come to Lagos, the public presentation of the book, Remaking Nigeria. But let me join others. I didn't participate. Professor Falola is our teacher, and even though I have a Sunday program myself, I made sure that I had to join today. So I didn't listen to the first part of your presentation. But my question is, first of all, let me join everybody in saying you're doing well. I'm a big fan. I'm calling in from Canada. I wake up and sleep. After much research and reading, your videos are what I go to watch to relax and just laugh at myself and laugh at our country and so on. The point I want to make, and which Dr. Adelakun had talked about, and Prof and the speaker after Dr. Adelakun spoke about, was the expansion of the scope of your work. We live in a multicultural, multi-religious society. Beyond your immediate target, I don't know who your immediate target is in terms of the outreach or the audience. Is that something that is clear to you? And if it's clear, my sense is that perhaps we should also look beyond our immediate environment. And how does it occur to you, or has it occurred to you to expand, to reach out to other sections of Nigeria in terms of your audience, if it's something you've thought about?
Thank you, Chido. Professor Ebon Clark just joined us. Welcome, Professor Clark. Olukayode Odujobi again. Your internet is giving you trouble. Finally, Olukayode Odujobi, you still want to talk? Okay, go ahead now. Go ahead, sir.
All right, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear. Okay, Kayode Odujobi is my name. I teach in a school in Cotonou, Republic of Benin. And honestly, I must say that Mr. Macaroni, if not for the email message given to me by Professor Falola on what you have been doing, honestly, I will say that I've never heard about you.
Wow.
And probably that's a shame on me, perhaps. However, I want to say that from all that I have seen and heard about you, I'm going to make probably a research, not just to see what you have been doing, but to really watch your videos and every other thing. Like the last speaker said, that he relaxed with your clips and your production. And probably I might key into that. Well, my question is this. Mr. Yemi asks you that what are the 4 things you are going to tackle should you become the president of this country, of Nigeria. Now, you made mention of education, and I was very, very impressed about that. But I really want to know, what aspects of education will you be looking at? Because our education is in shambles. For example, the level at which I operate, the secondary school and primary school, is in total mess. So I am looking at, your focus of reparation within that sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I hope, supposing you become one, you will not send your children abroad. Your children, I'm looking at it that your children at least would have the taste of what we are receiving in Nigeria, rather than sending them abroad. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And let me thank the media who are covering this, and they'll be reporting on this program in the next 2-3 days. Punch, The Guardian, Tribune, the editor of Tribune joined us. We're very grateful for media participation. The last person who was supposed to talk, I think, has changed his mind. Professor Ebon Clark, do you want to make a statement because we joined late? Professor Ebon Clark, Professor Pamela Smith, you want to say something for a second?
Yes. Hello, Prof. I think I've been permitted to speak.
Oh, I didn't see you. Sorry about that. Because your system is not working well. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Toby Alonge. I'm a retired teacher. And very quickly, Oremi Onshidadagon, you are aware of what I've said.
Yeah,
I really have a challenge, which I just want to put forward. The youth has been advocating for a change in the system. And we see the struggle at the NSAS level, how we all committed our energy and how that we are able to achieve. But beyond that level, people keep saying, let's vote and let's vote and let's vote, let the youth go and vote. But I keep asking, this is not beyond voting. It's about transcending from that level of political participation that we have at the moment to what is called the three-level analysis of Mibrit, transcending gladiators and spectatorial. I believe the youth are too spectatorial at the current political system. And I want to challenge you and others like you who have platforms, who have followers. Why can't we consult our great professors for a manifesto, for an agenda, and transform ourselves into a formidable party where we can have youth engaging in electoral processes, participating, having tickets at local government level, House of Assembly, House of Rep. We don't want to go to Senate, we don't want to go to presidency at the go. But let us start at the local level. Let's take over the state. Let's take over the local government. Then we cannot aspire to become the country that we want to be. So I'm challenging you and others who have platforms like Children's Catering, all that you are doing. I'm a teacher. I don't have much of that platform, but I'm saying that let us use that platform that you have gotten, that others have gotten, to have a formidable party that we can stand in for election at the local level and then transgress from that to the national level. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Toby. Let me just come in. I set up a team to look at the formation of a third alternative party. You will need, as of today, 200 billion naira. The entire space has been monetized. On the day of the presidential election, the minimum you need to manage 175 polling booths is 10.2 billion naira. Because those representing you in those polling booths, they have to be paid. People have to eat. The police have to be paid. You have to hire thugs that look like me. Look like Mr. Macaroni. So the entire thing is so monetized. Just telling you for one day, 10.2 billion naira. Otherwise, they won't count your votes. Your votes will be given to other people. Okay, let me now begin to close. Do you, Professor Pamela Smith, you want to talk about translation? Professor Edmond Clark, because you are the elders, I can't just ignore you. But if you don't want to talk, okay, go ahead, ma. Go ahead. You're having problems?
Okay, let me.
Okay, now.
Yeah, that's better now. Yes. Thank you very much for the invitation to say a word or two. Thank you so very much, Mr. Macaroni. Just the fact that I had seen the advertisement for the last 2 weeks, I was kind of wondering how you came about the name macaroni. So you must really love eating quite a bit of macaroni. But that aside, I wouldn't have said anything at all had Professor Falola not mentioned the word translation. And I would want to really, really, truly encourage you to take that to heart as a branch off to your skit, writing. I know Professor Ishola sort of did, odds and ends. He even did a book, on Fabu. But putting them, some of your ideas on paper so that then somebody else comes along and translates it to a broader audience. But this is I'm sorry to say, this is the very first time I'm hearing about you and about your work. So, which, like the other gentleman, I'm going to go try and check out and see what's going. And
please speak Yoruba to him.
Well, yeah, well, that's coming too.
So that he can understand you clearly.
Yeah. I've linked up with your father in terms of the magazine Alarui, and one thing I would say is sometimes you can't expect these institutions to purchase these tools. Family nyo she endowment con. Every month, every issue to bati jadi. Shame, I'd say shame the institutions. If you're let them choke on it. She owo ni won she subscribe see. Oyinbo. Okay. And yeah, shame more. And if you don't share someone, how long that Nigerian tendency to love freebies.
Yeah.
So there are some ideas, that you could input into what you do, so that you'd reach a broader, audience. Now, since I don't know your work and will need to from now on go check him out, I probably will have some suggestions, some questions, to share with you.
Absolutely.
But I've already got a foot in the door by virtue of having, now I have not met him in person, but he and I have corresponded quite a bit. And so after this, if you would please send me how I can reach you, I'd like to send you a copy of a signed copy of Shaworoide.
Thank you, ma.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And by the way, Shaworoide, to support what she just said, we'll be distributing Shaworoide for free to so many people. The translation of Shola's book. Thank you very much. Well, Mr. Dada, I thought we've closed this conversation, but I don't want to be disrespectful of you. Do not repeat what other people have said, like youth participation in politics and this and that. Please, a new point.
Well, okay, thank you, sir. Well, thank you, Mr. Macaroni, for your good work.
Thank you, sir.
Daddy said I shouldn't repeat what people have said, but
You just
I just
did
want to
now for thanking him. You just did.
It's part of us. You have to appreciate good people, sir. Well, I live here in Italy. Today we went for a referendum on justice. The youth, even also in the European, they don't really participate in election. I have to be frank. And I've seen something good about our Nigerian youth, especially during the HENSAS. There is never anywhere there is a protest and people will sit down and sweep the area, arrange everything. They rather destroy the hero, and police never killed anybody. Now, you guys have done a great job. I just want you to ship an idea. I have many ideas, but just one because of time, about Nigerian's university. If we should look at each state in Nigeria, we have at least in all universities and polytechnics, at least 20,000 students, if I'm not mistaken. These 20,000 students, going by your own skits, to just give them some information that you guys get your PVC. This is doable. We can get up to 40 millions that are between 18 and 35 if they can vote for a particular party. When Daddy was talking of money, when people are ready, money will be out of it.
Correct.
Because they will go for it. And with the rate of the 20,000, if you can get up to 50% of Nigerian youth in all these universities with a PVC and decide to come out and vote, my dear brother, that is a political revolution. And we've changed hand of things in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you. And we appreciate your coming from Italy to join us. Professor Ebon Clark, let me give you, yes, ma. How are you, ma? Please, can you unmute, ma? We cannot hear you, ma. Can you unmute her?
I think you should remove the headpiece.
Yes, now we can. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma. Yes, ma.
Okay. I'm just saying that I love your program and I usually do watch it, but through YouTube. It's one of the rare times that I come on Zoom. I keep very much, privately through YouTube. And if I miss it, I'm going to make up later on and just watch everything myself.
Wow.
I don't know whether we don't know each other, Mr. Macaroni, we don't know each other. I don't think you know me, I don't know you.
I know you, ma.
You know me? Oh, that's fantastic.
She wrote on Ogunde.
Yes. And of course, our teachers would always talk about her being the first female professor. So for me, it's a great honor as a thespian to be able to talk to you.
Well, it's wonderful also to be able to talk with you, but I'm always glad when I hear that you younger generation in theater are influenced by your senior. It really gladdens my heart because it means that whatever we do is being passed down. Yes. And that is so important because the professional theater, indigenous theater no longer exists at all. Yoruba theater does not exist anymore. It has gone out after 350 years. That's what most people don't know, that there was continuous Yoruba theater history for 350 years. Professor Adedayo did the classical theater and I did the contemporary. I'm not the only one at all. Only his own was not published, that's all. So it always gladdens my heart when I hear that. So people like Professor Oshofison Yerima, who did a fantastic job with the National Theatre Troupe and now has gone into academia. I'm so glad to hear that too. Are influencing you. So please, you too will influence others, all right? Yes, and I can hear that today. And when I listen my age, I just say we can all die in peace, knowing that whatever we've done before will not be wasted. Hearty congratulations to you.
Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma.
Prof. Falola, do continue with this program. I think there was a time you suspended it and I had a withdrawal, symptom, So thank you for coming back with it, all right? And if you don't see my name, just know I'm watching through YouTube.
Thank you. And Mbeki will be on the program on Sunday.
All right.
The former president. Now, can I give the opportunity to Professor Yerima? Have we missed any question? Is there anything we miss? Is Adabada still there? At one point, she wanted to ask another question as we begin to move to the end of the program. Unmute, sir. Unmute. Unmute him. Is it our end or your end, sir? It says from your end. Macaroni, go help your teacher now.
Professor Emma, I think my teacher is in there right now.
Okay. We may have to move on.
Prof.
You know, you can't see where to unmute. Okay. Sorry, we have to move on. Can you just briefly respond? Oh, Professor Da Silva. Professor Da Silva, you want to say something very quickly? Akinloyo, why are you all just coming now? We've been calling you forever. Professor Da Silva.
Mute.
You know, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations, Mr. Macaroni.
Thank you, sir.
I'm very glad with all your responses. I just want to chip this one in, and the need for us to be conscious of that, so that one can be very consistent, particularly with the skits in the area of direction. For instance, we have comedies, we have satires. Ordinarily, all comedies are satires, but not all satires are comedies. But the fact is this: it may not be enough for one to laugh at himself. But like you rightly mentioned, there must be something to take away from such production or scripts. Now, there are times when we need to be conscious of the ideology that drives us. We have a situation where people watch and they're enjoying themselves, and that is all. Of course, you introduce them to the ridiculous, but beyond that, at times, we need to assist our viewers to help them think, to actually give them the answer to the problems. And that is why an ideology that belongs to the socialist realists will not only present the society as it is, but as it ought to be. And the moment we're able to do that, we help a society that is ordinarily maybe complacent or may not even have an idea of how to get out of the wood. So we must be a step ahead of the society. And I see that some of your skits actually show that. But I will want to encourage consistency and to have this kind of syllogism, not just looking at the problem, but working out the problem and at the same time finding solution to the problem, even within that short space. That's my own contribution. And I want to thank you.
Thank you, sir, Professor Da Silva.
You're welcome.
Professor Yerima, is your system working? It's not working. Okay, it's not working. Okay, Mr. Macaroni, you are making your last statements now. You don't have to respond to all the questions.
Oh, sorry, sir, it's working.
Okay, go ahead, sir. Did we miss anything?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. Did we miss anything?
No, I don't think you did, but I was so excited when I saw Professor Clark, our mother in the field. I'm so grateful for her life. I'm very grateful. But today, sir, I on behalf of the Adedayo family, also want to thank you for giving our son such a platform, and also Redeemers University. We are so proud and happy. I have learned more. My students are busy taking notes, and I think they even think I didn't teach them anything. So they are in trouble because they kept looking at me like you left that one out. And I'm very happy. I think Debo now knows that he's into serious business, and a lot is expected of him. And it's not just the glitz of the camera, but also the responsibility. Society is now holding you responsible. I think that's the aspect we didn't get to because you were still, you had not grown into it yet. Now you have grown up and you've seen the challenges that are coming and the new responsibilities. And so I think and pray that God gives you the strength, the knowledge to be able to carry this out. And one thing that struck me was when Alaruhi was also spoken about. And I think it would be nice if you help Daddy explore that, because I feel very sad that such a great paper is being abandoned. And right now we are talking of the Yoruba nation, and that should be the tool, the voice of the Yoruba nation. Practically, he has done so many things like that. We're giving lectures and organized lectures at University of Ibadan. But I think and again, your topicality, I think what I'm taking away from here and what I've just told my students is that you have to be the heartbeat of society. I think that's one of the things that this program taught me today, that you have to be, you must remain relevant to society because society is expecting you, especially the lady who spoke from Texas. And was talking about your responsibility to the market women and the people, even as far away as Texas. So you are no longer a local champion. And I think that's what Professor Toyin Falola has done today. It's like one day a day, Orisha, Sieluri, you've become what's it called, deified. And therefore you must take up the responsibility beyond the human aspect and then grow, So, okay, Agbalonlo you. So, Nikosel. Baba, God bless you, sir.
Thank you, Prof.
So,
yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Macaroni, please respond, because I wanted you to rest. That was why I wasn't allowing you to answer the question one by one.
Yeah.
You can make your closing statements.
Yes. Thank you very much, Professor Toyin Falola. Once again, for the opportunity to be here today and for this amazing platform that not only I am inspired by, but that millions of people out there are also inspired by. It's a great honor. In fact, when the poster was out, that the Toyin Falola interviews will be speaking to me, some of my lecturers did send it to me and say, look at you, Debo, so it's a thing of pride to me. And of course, to all of our teachers, all of our legends, that I have only heard about in writing or by virtue of their works. And by today, by special grace of God and through this platform, I've been able to even interact with them directly. It's a great honor for me. It's a great honor for me. So I'm just going to pick up on the questions, the ones I wrote down here very briefly. Takes me to the first one. Can money, corruption be separated from politics? The question I would ask you in return is, can corruption be separated from anything, not just politics? So is what I said earlier, that is not a function of the leaders. Yes, we would always voice out, we will always speak up, but it's a function of society. The leaders are product of the society. The leaders were just like us, like the people before they got to that position. So I could ask you, can corruption be separated from the bank? Can corruption be separated from the hospital? Can it be separated from the from your workspace? The answer is no. Until we as a people come together and say that we are ready to fight corruption on all fronts. It's not just a function of government. So, but will we, because these are issues, will we now say, oh, let's leave it as it is? No, we'll continue to speak up against it and hope that one day we all are ready, to effect the change, to say, look, this corruption thing is what has gotten us to the level that we are today. And if we do not eradicate corruption completely on all levels, you and me, government and the people, we all have a role to play. I'll move to ways to promote Yoruba tradition. in my contents. You know, this reminds me of when I first met the Oni of Ife. You know, before, if you notice, I used to say "Aye kulemo" in my videos. You know, when I see a fantabulous freaky and I want to freaky her account and she wants to kneel down to greet me, you know, I play the role of an elderly man and I say "Aye kulemo." So if I made a video with the Oni of Ife, which at the time when I did, everyone was asking, how did you do that? I mean, you put the Oni of Ife in your own video. How? You know, and it was when I presented the script to Kabiyesi and I told him, this is what I want to achieve with the script. This is it. He saw the video and he said, okay, we will now add one thing. Maybe Oman saw in the video, you will be saying, Aye kulemo, Aye kulemo. You don't know that that's not our culture, that that's not our tradition in Yoruba land. That Aye shin kunle, Aye shin dobale. When you see your elder, you must respect your elder. You must kneel or prostrate. So, if you go back to the video, it's still there. I'm trying to remember the title. I don't think I can remember. So, it's in the video. It says, "Hey, so, and I did prostrate. So, I think with some of those, and since then, it was a personal. He did not ask me to stop saying it, but since I made that video with Kabiyesi, and I think that was early 2021, I think, you would never hear me say that in the video again. So I feel these are ways that you know, I'm also trying to push our culture. Sometimes I speak Yoruba, Molabi, you know, I try as much as possible, in as much as I know that I want to cut across other languages, other tribes as well. I still try as much as possible to put in that Yoruba feel there. But this, in fact, the Tony Falola interviews has done more for me, this platform, because I'm getting a lot of ideas, a lot of opinions, and say, oh, why don't you try this? Why don't you? And I want to believe that there's more that I can still do, you know, as regards this. So I go quickly to what am I going to do to encourage youth votes? You know, we've mentioned that I do what I can. And I only do it because that is who I am. If sometimes, you know, I feel sometimes I'm tired, sometimes I'm weighed down, but the truth is, I don't see myself ever stopping. I don't see myself ever stopping to use my voice, my platform to continue to advocate for the greater good. Sometimes, like, I'm tired. I just want to relax and just be making videos to make people laugh, and that's all. But my consciousness will not allow me, you know, so I'll just continue to try my best. What we are doing right now is to make sure that the energy from the NSAS protest, if you check my tweets, if you check all my social media platforms, I talk about it. Like I come to the face, I say it, I tweet about it, I go out there. We just did a mega concert, youth vote count, encouraging the youth, saying, look, think about all the sufferings and know that, because what the Nigerian youth, and let me use this platform to also say, what the Nigerian youth don't know is that the power is actually in our hands. Truthfully, we have been laid back. We did not used to participate in politics. But now, I think the NSAS fueled something in all of us. Because look, out of about 200 million, thereabouts, people in Nigeria, the youth alone were about 60%. Take statistics of the last elections, for example. How many voters did we see? About 20-something million. So 20-something million out of about 200 million people are making the choice for the president or for those that will be in office. So meanwhile, if enough of the youth actually come out and say, look, all of us, which I think is the movement we're doing now, say, come, the power there our hand. I think we'll see some changes, you know. So I'm hopeful we'll continue to do our best and see how far we can continue to push for better leaders in the society. Okay, there was something about when I become president. Okay, so let me say that I didn't say I want to be president, so but I didn't say I want to be president. It was a question like if I become president. So I don't want anyone going with the notion that I am nursing that ambition. I just think by virtue of my advocacy, by virtue of my involvement in speaking up, my activism, so to say, people think, oh, this guy, what will you do when you're there, politics and all, and that's why the question came to be. And this person was saying, I spoke about giving platforms, you know, at the time, my platform, even before I become, if I become president or not, is what we're already doing. Mommy Wa, by God's grace, in her own right, she has a brand, she's nurturing and she's doing well. Motunde, Corex, you know, if you look at Professor Hadlife's kids, there are some people some students in the class too that have also branched and they are doing their best. And he said, will I reduce, if I create a platform like that, a school like that, will I reduce the money tax on them, how much we collect? Mr. Macaroni Entertainment, Mr. Macaroni Theater Group, for boarding artists, we do not collect a dime. We do not collect 5 naira. Anyone you see on any of my productions, on any of my shows, on anything I do as far as is nursing talents and giving platforms to burden artists is completely free of charge. As a matter of fact, we pay. Mr. Macaroni Entertainment, there is no production, not a single one, even before I became as popular as I am now. When I started, perhaps that's one of the reasons why I started late, because I've always been of the school of thought that people cannot work and you do not pay them. So we do not see it here at Mr. Macaroni Entertainment that we are doing burden artists a favor. That, oh, come, we want to give you exposure. No, they come, we pay them, and by God's grace, when they become brands on their own, when at least people know them. I was happy when people were saying, oh, Motunde this, Motunde that, Mommy Wa this. They are getting jobs on their own. Mr. Macaroni Entertainment does not collect 5 naira from any job that comes to them out from outside. As a matter of fact, when they bring job for Mr. Macaroni and they are in that job, out of the money paid to Mr. Macaroni will take and give to them. So it's totally free, and that's what we'll continue to do as more inspiration that we continue to get to give more people roles and say, oh yeah, maybe I'm trying out a new role or something. We will continue to give them that opportunity and we will not collect any money. Even when I have a troupe, okay, I mentioned Mr. Macaroni Theater Troupe, which by God's grace, we want to build into a film school, you know, a school where talents can come. It is going to be free of charge. It's my contribution to the creative industry in Nigeria. So that is definitely that. Mention specific areas, yes, which private universities should help on freedom. So, okay, yes, when I said, you know, when I was talking about education, when I said the freedom in private universities, you know, is limited. What I was saying, I want for private universities to give to the students, to let the students have the ultimate university experience. And it's not that I meant to say that students should be allowed to do, of course, there are rules and regulations that I believe should be strictly followed. You know, when you get to a school, they tell you these are our rules and you must abide by them. But what I'm saying is there are some rules like, oh, you cannot hold the hand of the opposite sex. You cannot be caught talking to this person in the cafeteria. Oh, you cannot have social events. No, it's a university. So we cannot say because it's a private university, they should not have a social life. The social life is part of the ultimate university experience. They will learn, they will do this one, do that one, let them also have a social life. So I just strongly feel that some of those rules are too hard, they're too stringent, you know, allow for some flexibility, you know. And also I mentioned earlier, you know, maybe the dean did not join us when I mentioned that. I said, because of that lack of freedom, you find that don't let me use most, in my opinion, you know, you find that some of them they now keep to themselves because there's this fear, oh, my lecturer, my this, my that. And you find that they cannot express themselves, they cannot speak up as they should, they do not have the freedom to engage. university should be engaging. We are engaging. That's what helps me in theater. Professor Yerima, my fellow thespians, we engage. Oh, when we do dress and tech, defend the reason why you directed this play like this. Oh, Sam, this was my approach. This is this. That's how the university should be. So that's about my point on that. Let me quickly move on to. Okay, there was also another additional question that what are we translating the energy of NSAS? I think I already talked about that. What are we doing to educate other skit makers? I don't know. One thing about me is Debo Adedayo does not hold every other person to the standards of Debo Adedayo, because the standard of Debo Adedayo might not even be the standard of some others. So I might believe that this is a certain way I want to do things, or believe this is the right way to do things. And trust me, some others don't feel like that way. So I usually do not hold anyone to by my own standards. And I also encourage others not to hold any other person to my own standards. We will always have different thought processes and different opinions, which I think everybody has the right to. But what I just believe is we should know the right thing. Some people are setting the examples. I'll call them examples now. So some people will follow, some others will not. So is a thing that we will continue to wish, hope, maybe pray that they see these examples and they follow. But if some other people believe that their own standards are what to go by, I really don't know how to challenge other skit makers or other artists to say this is the pattern to follow. I believe everyone has their own different ways, and who can force them? Why do we do more stories on comedy instead of tragedy? Well, in the content, well, that was for movies. Yes, I remember that was for movies, not even for content creation. Because trust me, the industry of content creation dwells on comedy. Why? Because especially in this part of the world, everyone is tired, frustrated. If they want to, most of the feedback at least that I've gotten is, oh, I beg, if I want to watch long thing, or even, sometimes when I do content to purge the consciousness of viewers and say, oh, maybe I want you to see that this is bad in this thing you're doing is bad. Or they will say, oh, Baba, if we want to watch story on how to behave, we will go cinema, and we will go say anything for phone. We just want to laugh, move on. So for content industry, for that space, people just want to laugh and they want to move on. They just, so I feel that as in a way, what's the word now? It now reflects. We now see that in movies too, because some movie makers, some film producers, they're looking, oh, look, I think the people enjoy comedy more. So please, even when it is tragedy, you will see that they will still find a way to put something hilarious, because they just feel that, oh, people want to laugh. But there are some of my content. Like I said earlier, for instance, the Boxing Day, there was one I did on NSAS. There's some like that you would not even find an element of comedy, because I don't want you to laugh. One of the major challenges I have in this profession is that when you hear content creator or skit maker, as it were, people just say comedian. So they forget that you are an actor or you're a producer that can produce other contents apart from comedy. So sometimes, everybody just wants to laugh. So when I produce such content that does not have comedy, they're looking like, Baba, what do you do like this now? You don't do your normal this thing, Well, I'm telling you, I don't want you to laugh this time around. I want you to see what I'm teaching you. I want you to understand what I'm preaching to you. But so I feel that's the reason people just feel the audience are drawn to comedy the more. What other question? A youth platform. I think I've touched on that. I think the youth need to come together the more, like we're doing now, organize this type of rallies and say, look, youth, we have a voice. Revenue generation. Of course, trust me, the industry of content creation is highly lucrative. You get jobs from advertisements, from brands that want to market their products, revenue from YouTube, from these streaming platforms. You get good revenue from them. You get some endorsements. I'm brand ambassador for a couple of amazing brands in Nigeria, Goldberg, of course, Amadamolo, I'll mention that, so this because people feel, oh, this guy has a platform, he has followers, they love him, so they will bring jobs their way. So we generate revenue from there. Where is the pressure coming from? The pressure is coming from content creation in itself. There's pressure because you are as good as your last content. You know, let me put it that way. So there's this pressure. You want to keep up. You want to keep up. You want to continue because the people would not stop asking. Sometimes when I don't even drop a content, Mr. Mara, you never drop video, give us now, what's happened? So they want content. They want you to entertain them. You know, so you need to keep producing and producing. But sometimes you know, as an artist, there's the writer's block. Sometimes you're not in the mood yourself. Sometimes you're not inspired. You know, these are natural things. You need to be inspired. You don't just want to. Personally, I don't just want to write anything and just produce anything because I want to continue. So that's the type of pressure. Sometimes I need to go for like a week, find a decent hotel, just go clear my head, you know, take a drive, you know, and see if I get inspired. So that's the type of pressure I'm talking about. Of course, I won't lie, from society too. Politicians, yes, because they're pressuring me. I get calls, messages. Oh boy, be careful. When they watch you, you are doing more than yourself. So these are the type of pressures I'm talking about. Threats here and there, of course, which I'm used to, you know. And then people say, "Oh, come and join us now. What do you want? In a house you want? I'm in a car you want?" You know, because we are not moved by those things. The future success and prosperity of the Nigerian youth of our society. Oh, Jedilogu, it is very important to me. I would not trade that for anything else. So pressure like that from different places is what I was talking about. Expansion on the scope of my works. Yes, has it occurred to me to expand on the scope of my work? Absolutely, absolutely, so many times. That's why I created the character Professor Hardline. You know, I felt, oh yes, a lot of people are enjoying Dadiwa, Motunde series, Freaky Daddy, this one, that one, but let's do something else. So I was inspired by one of my lecturers. You know, that's not how he behaves exactly, but the mannerism, the way he talks, it's not Professor Adedayo because the hair, it's not Prof. I won't mention his name. So, you know, so I created that character because I feel variety is also the spice of life. You need to continue to, if you look at even our teachers, Professor Femi Oshofiso, Professor Yerima, Baba Watoife, Professor Toyin Falola himself, all of their works is not one angle, it's not one direction. You know, they will write on different things, different topics, you know, so as an artist, different things, you'll be inspired by different things. So, and of course, even beyond my characters, I'm looking beyond content creation. These online videos we're doing, want to do soap operas, TV series, by that way, giving opportunity to fresh artists, upcoming artists to come on board, cinema, movies, and other amazing work. So we're really, really, really working on that. Feedback mechanism. Trust me, comments are a very great tool for feedback. With those comments that you see, and you will not always see, you will not see comments that you want to see all the time. So while a lot of people say, "Oh, love it, beautiful, I love it," some other people say, "Oh, why did you do this?" They will give their feedback. The constructive ones, I mean, those ones that don't have to do with insults. Trust me, since I started Advocacy, I've been receiving a lot of insults, a lot of attacks. You know, they just want to attack your work. You know, but when we see constructive criticisms, we take it. We take, like, I have seen a lot here. I have received a lot here, and it's something we will be very much willing to work on. Someone asked that if I become president, you know, that I mentioned education, that this, if I become president, is really looking like I said, "Oh, I want to be president." Okay, you know, but someone said, if I become president, what level of education am I talking about? You know, let me also mention one thing I didn't mention. My Oga, Yemi asked for 4 points. I think I mentioned about 3 because I forgot. I jumped into another thing at the time. So one thing I didn't mention was security, actually. Security. But the area of security, but no, let me first answer this question before I forget again. So education, primary education, actually. Primary education and secondary education. Of course, we'll focus on universities, important. But you see that primary and secondary education is the most important. because that is where that's the period of literacy. To actually obtain literacy, simply you can read and write. We need that, everyone. So far, once you're born into Nigeria, once you have the power to read and write, we're a step ahead. We're a step ahead because there are a lot of things, a lot of ideas we have now. Look at this amazing platform, a lot of things we're talking about. Some people cannot key into this. They cannot because of the level of their education, which is the truth. You understand? Except for those that have now gone ahead to educate themselves. But primarily, if that opportunity has been available from the get-go for them to acquire this primary education, that's why it's primary, because it's the very first one to read and write. All those 1 + 1 to A, B, C, D, E, read and write will be a step forward. You know, all those weapons, all those, they're using the lack of education as a tool they have weaponized that against the people. So if majority of the people that cannot read and write understand that we actually do care about them, that all these things we are saying is for the greater good, I trust you know that will be better for it. Then security, when I was talking about security, is I've always said, I do not see the reason why you call the governor of the state, the chief security officer in that state, if he does not have the power actually to preside over the armed forces, or in that state, the security agents, rather, let me use that. The security apparatus in that state. So why is it the CSO? Because our chief security officer, he must have total control of the security apparatus in his state, so that if anything happens in that state, you can hold someone accountable. Now, anything happens, we say police, or we say this, or we say that, but is it the state governor that is controlling the police? So we know where we know the hierarchy, the way these things go. So I strongly feel and I strongly believe that the state government, so that way we know who to hold responsible. And even in the security agents, some of them should be close to home. So that this insecurity we're talking about, police brutality, security agents misusing power or abusing power, you know who to hold. Is the son of this person that did that, is the son of that person. You understand? So I just thought to chip that in. I beg, Tony Falola interviews. We listening. I did not talk to the president. I got so they asked me.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that's the last one. Yes, that's about the very last question.
Thank you. Well, it's now my pleasure to call on our distinguished scholar, Professor Nuru Yakub, a very well-known political scientist, former Vice Chancellor of the University of Abuja, former Vice Chancellor of Sokoto State University, to thank Mr. Macaroni and the audience and close this program. Professor Yakub.
Thank you so very much, Prof. Let me also start by saying that when the invitation got to me and I saw Debo Macaroni, I was thinking, what kind of program are we going to listen to this evening? And I said, well, I know that we cannot eat macaroni virtually, but maybe I'll collect his address and ask for my share after the interaction. But I now discovered that, I mean, he is such a fantastic, gentleman and, a sight of wisdom, as a matter of fact. Mr. Macaroni, let me say I congratulate you on your performance at this interview. And I'm not Yoruba, but my wife is Yoruba. But what I'll try to do is to see if we can get some of your productions and ask her to teach me the language also on the basis of what you are saying. But I think I would like to link this up with the suggestions that have been given. And it started from Professor Falola that said that you should try as much as possible to get your work translated into English. I think he's going to go very, very far, given the richness of the productions of the programs. So you have I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I think you still have a long path ahead of you, and you can actually, become famous. I mean, global. I mean, a celebrity in your area of specialization. So I congratulate you on that. That is also the point about mobilize, using your platform to mobilize the youth. I want you to be very cautious, because the Nigerian state is not a friend of people who want radical change. And since they don't want radical change, they will also be looking for a way. If they don't even try to eliminate you, at least they will try to sabotage you and, bring down the level, the very important contribution you are making to society. So we have to tread very softly and, try to, get the youth, mobilize. In fact, what we really need in this country, apart from actually trying to see if we can change the direction of the trajectory of a governance in this country, is the fact that we need the current youth to actually, transform themselves behaviorally. What we find these days is that the young generation is actually opposed to even what to call morality, good behavior, and also trying to show respect. As I said, I can't speak Yoruba, but you are talking of the program you made with His Royal Majesty, the Onion of Ife, and you were talking about Dobale. I know what Dobale means in Yoruba language. Yeah. That respect is no more there from our youth. And I think we need to actually guide them in such a manner that they imbibe the social mores that are generally acceptable in our society. That will be a very fundamental contribution also, apart from your ideas that are also shaping our society. And that leads me to also the issue of politics. If you are interested in politics, I think your theater professionalism can also be used to actually create political awareness and drive people to see how they can actually engage in politics that will be very, very relevant to the Nigerian society. I mean, I have, as a political scientist, I've actually, come to the conclusion that we have no democracy in this country, and we need to actually drive, or direct the youth to embrace the positive aspect of democratic politics. Otherwise, what we are seeing now is just, a prelude, total destruction of democratic politics in this country, and it's going to be very, very bad. In fact, if we cannot get democracy on course in this country, I think that is the greatest threat to the unity and national integration of Nigeria. It's something that we need to address very seriously. Issues about, we are totally different. We have different ethnic backgrounds. We have different religious backgrounds. Those will come, to the backburners if only we can get democratic politics going on in this country. And there is also the suggestion that was made earlier about how do people in your profession, actually, survive. There's always a curve, in any particular profession. If the curve is now, nosediving, how do we get those of you with very robust knowledge and ideas about how to, actually intervene in societal, progress? How do you do it after you might have, reached your peak and you are now also declining in terms of, level of productivity and so on? This idea of endowment is something that, I want to recommend. And on behalf of those of us who have been able to listen to your responses to the various questions, and I'm so happy that, you are so very, intelligent, so very versatile in the answers you gave, to the questions. I think we have really, particularly for myself, I have really learned a lot, from your very fecund mind. And I pray to God that you continue to excel in your choosing field, and you also be a factor that will, make others to, take to this profession, because you are really doing a very good job. Thank you. And once again, I thank Professor Falola for this opportunity. I have been out of, this program for some time, but I'm happy that, at least today I remember. The problem is, if we do not, maybe at my age, I'm getting old, I easily forget things now. So if we are not informed that, or reminded that this kind of a good program is on, I tend to forget because of also other, contingencies that, distract our attention. Once again, I thank you and God bless you in your choosing profession.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Next Sunday, President Thabo Mbeki at 80 will talk about his experience and we'll talk about democracy and governance in Africa. We thank you all.